Good morning and happy Thursday. Throughout the lives that I do, of course, I'm filling in for Rochelle this morning, I get to see a lot of hidden treasures and gems throughout Manitoba. The St. Andrew's Heritage Centre, I have to tell you, is absolutely one of them, whether it be our agricultural or Indigenous history. They even have a garden and a gift shop there. You have to check it out. That's where Joseph Bernacki is throughout the morning. First, let's have a look at your headlines. Air quality across Manitoba is taking a toll on outdoor sports, with smoke forcing the cancellation of practices. We'll explain what's causing it and when relief might come. Just hours to go, Prime Minister Carney warns a U.S. trade deal may not come in time. This as Canadian goods face steep tariffs, and a new move could hurt small exporters even more. And Folklorama fun is just days away, with 2 brand new pavilions and big celebrations in store. We've got your first look here with the World Tour. Terry, the smoke outside, we're still feeling it, even yesterday.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, we'll get moments of slight improvements, and then it just seems to be back again. Right now, we're waking up with visibility around 13 kilometers. I think it's close to where it was yesterday, but yes, you can still see that heavier smoke hanging around over downtown. 12 degrees right now with a 12K wind out of the west. The pressure rising, the humidity sitting at 80%. I know by yesterday evening, I was going out for my walk and we had gotten to about 15 kilometers visibility. Then it kind of started to taper off again. And even when I stepped outside this morning, you can smell that smoke. We do remain under that heavy smoke warning. Parts of the south, the only part not included now is kind of a stretch through southwest, west central Manitoba, and then in the far northeast. But you remember yesterday there were parts of northern Manitoba that weren't included but now are. Now, coupled with the heavy smoke warning, it's a double whammy because the purple is still there under the pink. The pink, what's that? An excessive heat warning. Starting to feel that heat creeping in now into parts of Manitoba, and it's certainly going to be just adding to that heaviness of the air along with the smoke. Clear conditions. There's really not much going on, and it won't be no real signs of precipitation. Maybe some very scattered patchy showers, but overall not the soaking that we could use again. I know we got one over this past weekend, but that was now days ago, and it looks like it's going to be several more days before we're going to be seeing any kind of precipitation. At this point, maybe the possibility by the middle of next week. Temperatures will continue to ramp up. We're looking at high 20s now for the next stretch of days.
Thank you, Terry. Many youth sports in Manitoba have had to cancel or postpone practices and games because of poor air quality. Even the city's big football club, the Blue Bombers, canceled its practice outdoors on Tuesday. This as wildfires continue to burn in northern Manitoba, bringing smoke south. CTV's Jeff Keogh has more.
George Marcineau limits the amount of time his granddaughter and her friend spend outside when the wildfire smoke blows in.
If it's very thick, we won't let them go out.
Concerns over the negative health impacts of wildfire smoke have forced several youth sports organizations to cancel or postpone events and practices.
The air quality is a massive concern, where obviously kids' health is first and foremost.
We've definitely felt the effects of the smoke.
The Winnipeg Youth Soccer Association says it lost a number of tournament games at the end of May and early June, and they're juggling some league games now.
Cancellations and then reschedules to later on in the season, which hopefully we can play those matches, but again, it depends on how the weather's going to be.
Football Manitoba says volunteers who help run their clubs are finding ways to get games in when the air quality improves.
It hasn't gotten to the point where we've actually lost any tackle events yet. We did lose our provincial flag championships this year. The entire event was canceled.
Even players with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers couldn't practice outside Tuesday. Instead, they did some preparation inside.
Hang around together as players and talk more football. So we got a lot of stuff done. It's good.
Andrew Haleko is a research chair at the University of Manitoba. He says the ramifications for children due to wildfire smoke may be worse, as they are more vulnerable.
With a perhaps underdeveloped immune system, they haven't seen the exposures you have as an adult and built up some of the resistance.
He says they've received funding for a lab to study long-term health impacts of car exhaust and wildfire smoke.
We already have generations of the population that have been exposed to bad air, and we don't know what's coming decades from now.
George Marcineau does wonder what this will mean for the next generation.
Seems like we're getting this every year now, and yeah, it is worrisome for parents that have young children, I'm sure.
Jeff Keel, CTV News, Winnipeg.
The sports organizations say when cancellations and postponements happen, it's done based on safety policies and expert advice, all to keep kids safe. Leagues and teams try to move indoors when they can, but space is at a minimum. For example, the Lila Soccer Complex is being used for wildfire evacuees. Tensions are running high in Thompson as a trio of wildfires burn out of control near the city.
It's really been unsettling that this is really actually happening to us.
It's being treated as 3 fires to the north, collectively known as Thompson Complex, the closest of which is approximately 14 kilometers north-northeast. Councillor Kathy Valentino says U.S. fire breaks are going up this week on the north of the city, and sprinklers are in place in various areas. Crews are from Quebec, helping out to put out hotspots. The city has been under a state of local emergency since July 7th, and it says it intends to renew the order for another 30 days. Meanwhile, a red delivery service alert was issued by Canada Post for Cormorant, the 300-person community located roughly 80 kilometers northeast of the Pas, was evacuated on Tuesday. Canada Post says incoming mail is being held at a secure location off-site until further notice. Those with questions about mail delivery are encouraged to reach out to Canada Post. Prime Minister Mark Carney says U.S. trade talks may go past tomorrow's deadline.
As you know, we're seeking the best deal for Canadians. We have not yet reached that deal. Negotiations will continue until we do.
The U.S. is set to hit some Canadian goods with a 35% tariff tomorrow. There has been another move that could further hurt Canadian businesses. President Trump is suspending an exemption that allows packages worth less than $800 into U.S. tariff-free. The Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses says about a third of small exporters in our country use this exemption. Copper prices fell again this morning in response to new tariffs announced by the U.S. President Donald Trump signed an order to impose a 50% tariff on a range of copper and copper-related products, but the measure fell short of the sweeping tariffs threatened earlier this month. Copper prices fell by 20% after yesterday's announcement. The U.S. imports almost half of the copper it uses. The new copper tariff comes into effect tomorrow. This is a little taste of home for Pope Leo. Pope Leo was greeting the public at St. Peter's Square on Wednesday when someone in the crowd handed him a box of Chicago deep dish. The kind of gesture got a thumbs up from the Pope. Pope Leo is from Chicago, and deep dish pizza is one of the Windy City's most famous dishes. You'd probably rather not find out how it tastes after a 7,000-kilometer trip across the Atlantic. Finishing touches are underway at Folklorama. It's getting ready to welcome you to travel the world in your own backyard. We got a sneak peek at what this year's festival will include among the 43 pavilions that will entertain over the 2 weeks. There's 2 brand new ones, Modern China and Mabuhay Philippine. Several others are celebrating milestones, including 50 years for Scotland, or returning after taking a break.
Proceeds, from each pavilion goes back to that community so the next generation can appreciate, learn, and preserve the traditions, customs, and recipes that make up their beautiful culture.
The 54th Folklorama Festival runs this Sunday, August 3rd through the 16th. You can plan your tour by visiting Folklorama's website. Taking a look at the current traffic situation, or lack thereof, I should say, on Osborne Street. Looks like a smooth drive. Any tips or updates, send them to us. CTV Morning WPG on X. Joseph joins us from the St. Andrews Heritage Center. You're outside, Joseph. It's a really beautiful hidden gem, isn't it?
It really is, Ainsley. Yeah, good morning, Manitoba. As Ainsley mentioned at the top of the hour, we're spending time today at the St. Andrews Heritage Center. This is the St. Andrews Rectory behind us, a place that has almost, 170 years of history. Pretty astonishing Georgian-style Scottish manor that's behind me, of course, that many reverends over the course of time lived here, of course, with connections to St. Andrews Church. We're in the RM of St. Andrews this morning, just off of River Road. Absolutely beautiful property. Coming up in about half an hour's time, we're going to be speaking with the program coordinator for the Heritage Center, learning a little bit more about the history of this space, of course, its ties to Lower Fort Garry as well, which we were at last week on the show. It's a nice connection there as well. Of course, this style of house inspired officers that used to work for the Hudson's Bay Company many years ago. This style of house was built, of course, in this area. We'll be learning more about the settlers who came to this area and some of the agricultural history as well on the show. And we'll be back in about half an hour's time, so stay tuned.
So fascinating. Thank you very much, Joseph. Harry, good morning. Here's something trickier than replying to all of your emails, balancing things on your end. Check this out. On your head, I should say. And he makes it look so easy. I love the bow ties.
I didn't even notice the bow ties. I was so concerned each time with trying to figure out what they were piling on this poor thing.
It's funny because the rice cakes look like they weigh so much.
The rice cakes? What?
A bodybuilder. How does it feel outside?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, it's smoky again. If it weren't for this smoke, it would be feeling pretty good. A coolness to the air. You see, I've got the layer on this morning. We're sitting at 11 degrees right now, but the sun is only just up and has not made its way above the buildings in the downtown area yet. So until we're standing in the warmth of that sunshine, yes, cooler temps this morning. Whether or not you want to get outside and enjoy these cooler temps, yeah, it is still a little bit smoky and hazy. Winds right now, they're out of the west-southwest. They're 11 kilometers per hour. The pressure is rising and the humidity sitting at 83%. We will start to see this smoke clearing on out now. We've got some winds, west winds or southwest winds, and it will certainly help with the air quality. It's just not going to be a quick and fast move. And unfortunately, that smoke is just going to be shifting around. So even though southern Manitoba might eventually benefit from the shift in the winds, we've noticed that the most northern part of the province is now included in that smoke warning, as everything just kind of tends to shift a little bit further into the north. So it's not a great scenario for any one place. And aside from the smoke, we got some heat warnings moving into the north. Taking a break right now. We'll be back in a moment with more CTV Morning Live.
CTV Morning Live weather brought to you by Garage Masters, your complete garage specialists.
Good morning. It's 6:15. 55,000 Canada Post workers have until this Friday to vote on the Crown Corporation's so-called final offer. The negotiations come at a time when some Canadians and businesses have expressed frustration with Canada Post services. CTV's Pat Foran reports. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties right now with our prompter. A legal threat pushed Parks Canada back to track on promise to reintroduce motorized boats in Clear Lake this summer. That revelation coming to light on Tuesday night as a packed town hall meeting in Wasagaming. These are the photos from that meeting where Parks Canada spokesperson told the crowd agency that it was facing a judicial review for its planned one boat, one lake policy. That review would have caused the plan to be paused, resulting in no boats on the lake regardless. Parks Canada didn't reveal who made that legal threat, but the news only further frustrated stakeholders and residents who were originally told by the agency its decision to ban boats was aimed at curbing the spread of zebra mussels in the lake. Fairness for Clear Lake, a review was conducted, and businesses in the area had long argued that the one boat, one lake policy was the right move, an opinion a scientist backed up at the meeting. A fisheries biologist hired to study zebra mussels said that the invasive species is going to spread in Clear Lake whether the boats are banned or not, which is what has happened. According to Parks Canada, testing zebra mussels have now spread to the lake west of Clear Lake.
We would like to see a proper memorandum of understanding that would be agreed upon amongst stakeholders, that would be a part of the operating plan of Clear Lake for the future, so that decisions like this are made in consultation with stakeholders, not in a vacuum, not by somebody sitting in Ottawa.
CTV News has contacted Parks Canada for a response. We're still waiting to hear back. To a historic shift on Canada's foreign policy in the Middle East, calling the situation in Gaza intolerable. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada intends to join two of its Western allies in recognizing Palestine as a state at the UN in September. Carney spoke to the president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, about the plan. CTV's Abigail Beeman on how the conditions and the swift reaction from Israel.
following similar stances by the UK and France.
Canada intends to recognize the State of Palestine at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2025.
That intention, the Prime Minister says, is based on the Palestinian Authority's commitment to reforms, including holding general elections in 2026, where Hamas plays no part.
It's not going to change the conflict on the ground as we speak. There's no question of that. It's a message to the government of Israel.
I can tell you that something in the trust is breaking right now. When Canada is taking a move, well knowing that Israel will not accept this, will reject it.
Israel rejects the message, not trusting the Palestinian Authority to follow through.
Hamas feels emboldened today. Hamas is rewarded today for the 7th of October atrocities.
On the ground in Gaza, at least 46 people were killed, most in crowds trying to get food. The United Nations World Food Program says it could officially declare a famine in the Gaza Strip. Israel says it's constantly improving aid delivery.
This decision is more than symbolic. It is a small step in the right direction and the recognition that sovereignty is essential to the survival and dignity of all people.
A senior government official tells CTV News decision is also about Canada intending to play a bigger role in the Mideast peace process going forward and, quote, try and be more useful.
Family and friends of a Scarborough man who was killed in Costa Rica are now speaking out as they try to learn more about his death.
Just coming out of a room and somebody shoots you because they're trying to rob you, and for what?
Christopher Deere had just arrived in Costa Rica when he was shot and killed during a home invasion on July 11th. In a statement, his brothers said in part, quote, "We're all in shock that such a loving and generous soul lost his life in such a tragic and senseless way." The 40-year-old was a life coach and able to work remotely. He was planning to spend as much as 6 months in Costa Rica. Authorities there say that they can't provide further details on the case because it's under investigation. Meanwhile, Global Affairs tells CTV News it's aware of the death of a Canadian and that the consular officials are in contact with local authorities to gather more information. The Home of Metal is honoring the life of Ozzy Osborne. Thousands of fans lined the funeral procession route on Wednesday in Birmingham, England, to pay their respects to the Black Sabbath frontman. Fans have made pilgrimages to sites around Birmingham since Osborne's death was announced, and family members of the music legend greeted them as they gathered to bid farewell. The Crazy Train singer died last week at the age of 76, following years of health struggles. His death came just weeks after he reunited with his Black Sabbath bandmates in Birmingham for a concert. Taking a look at the current traffic situation along Portage and Polo Park, it looks like a smooth drive. Any traffic tips or updates to share, send them to us. CTV Morning WPG.
CTV Morning Live Traffic brought to you by Mr. Lube Plus Tires. No appointment needed.
All right, looking through the Bathfitter Live Eye. Bathfitter, your bath and shower experts for more than 40 years. It is still smoky out there. We remain under the heavy smoke warnings. I'll show you the map in just a second. Areas have morphed as far as where that smoke is and who's going to be affected by it the most. 11 degrees at the moment here in Winnipeg right now. 13 is a normal low for this time of year, so we're just a couple below it. Even further below it yet are the single digits that we're seeing right now in Pinawa, 8 degrees, Sprague at 7, along with Brandon, Roblin also coming in at 7 degrees. We've got Portage La Prairie at 13, Canora at 15, but most of us are beginning the day just slightly below seasonal. And then there's northern Manitoba, where some places are already up into those mid-teens. And along with the smoke warnings, there's some excessive heat warnings, and that's the pink. So it's a doubled up warning. You're still under that heavy smoke warning, but now the heat starting to move into parts of the northwest. And no warnings through west central Manitoba or the far northeast, but you can see that this heavy smoke warning is moving right up to that most northern border now. As far as the conditions go, it will be mainly sunny throughout most of the province today. And as these temperatures rise, yes, it will be back to seasonal here in the south, but well above seasonal seasonal in parts of northeastern Manitoba where those excessive heat warnings are in place, and you're going to be seeing those temperatures climbing up into the high 20s. Mid-20s for us, 26 degrees is in fact normal, but even here it will continue to warm up a few degrees over the next few days. Out at the Leo Mole Sculpture Garden, things were looking pretty and serene. Thanks to Debbie for this photo, and keep them coming please to Winnipeg weather at ctv.ca. We're taking a break right now, but we'll be back with more CTV Morning Live.
CTV Morning Live weather brought to you by Garage Masters, your complete garage specialists.
Good morning. 55,000 Canada Post workers have until this Friday to vote on the Crown Corporation's so-called final offer. The negotiations come at a time when some Canadians and businesses have expressed frustration with Canada Post services. CTV's Pat Foran reports.
Ethan Thorogood of Toronto has volunteered to help children's causes in Africa. He decided to go to Kenya and Ghana for 3 months this summer to continue his humanitarian work. In the spring, he used Express Post to mail his passport, proof of vaccines, and other documents to the Ghana consulate in the GTA.
I checked back a few days later to see where it was at, being delivered to the consulate, and it was lost and nowhere to be found.
Once the documents were officially declared lost, Thorogood had to scramble to replace all the missing paperwork at an additional cost to him of $750.
Cost a lot financially and certainly emotionally as well.
He was able to get new paperwork in time to make the trip. Canada Post gave him $100, the maximum insurance for Express Post. His mother, Lara, felt he deserved much more.
He's going to volunteer, and that $750 would come in very, very handy, either towards his flight or helping the kids while he's there.
A Canada Post spokesperson told CTV News, "We apologize to the customer and recognize the importance of meeting the expectations of Canadians across the country."
This is actually the registered mail tag.
Sarah Isaacs of Mississauga had to mail confidential documents in February for a family member. They were medical records for her insurance company.
Because it's confidential medical information, I said I'm going to send it through Canada Post as a registered letter.
Isaacs kept checking to see when her registered letter would arrive. More than 5 months later, Canada Post still has no idea where it went.
They lost my letter. And now they're basically saying they refuse to do anything about it.
Canada Post told CTV News, "This is an unfortunate situation, and we apologize to the customer that their registered letter still has not been delivered." Canada Post says it takes it very seriously whenever a letter, package, or parcel goes missing. Isaacs is frustrated her family's private documents have disappeared.
You can't lose registered mail. That's absolutely insane.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
The Winnipeg Sea Bears season continues, and we want you to be part of the action. The Sea Bears will be taking on the Brampton Honey Badgers on August 8th, so if you want to be in the stands, we've got the contest for you. CTV Morning Live is giving away a family pack of 4 tickets to give away to the game. Head over to our website, ctvnewswinnipeg.ca. Hit our contest page for all those details. Don't miss your shot.
CTV Morning Live is brought to you by Robin's Donuts, your favorite stop.
All right, 11 degrees outside right now, still pretty smoky as you can see. With an 11K wind out of the west-southwest, the pressure is rising and the humidity sitting at 83%. So the smoke continues to be a factor across most of the province. West central Manitoba, things have improved somewhat for you. Northeastern Manitoba, smoke is not an issue, but where it wasn't an issue just the other day, it is now, as there's been a bit of a shift in the winds coming out of the south, driving some of that further into the north. So even though we might eventually get some improvements here in the south because of these shifting winds, it only moves that smoke into other parts of the province. There really is no winning when it comes to the smoke. And on top of the smoke, we've also got the excessive heat warning, and that's the pink that you're seeing right now through parts of northwestern Manitoba. Temperatures there today getting almost up to the 30-degree mark. Now, if it were for the smoke, we'd be enjoying the sunshine. There's not going to be much happening around the province today. The possibility of some precipitation in some parts of the north, but for most of us, it's just going to be a sunny but smoky day. 26 degrees is where we're headed here in Winnipeg today. Winds out of the west on the lighter side, shifting out of the southwest overnight as we drop down to 12. Clear conditions still, but probably a little bit hazy. Maybe some more improvements tomorrow as the winds are out of the south. 27 degrees. It only continues to warm up through the rest rest of this week. And then we're sitting in the high 20s as we continue through the weekend and look even further into the start of next week.
Thank you, Terry. One person is in custody following a weapons-related incident that saw a large police presence shut down parts of Mountain Avenue at Salter Street. The Winnipeg Police Service says officers arrived at around 2:45 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon for a gun-related call. North District Police were assisted by the tactical team. Police say case will be followed by the gang unit. 7 units were on the scene in response to the call, all clearing the location at about 5:30 p.m. The wildfire fight continues on several fronts in the Snow Lake area. An update on Facebook from the town at 9:30 on Wednesday night says that the fire near Lawler Road is still in an area of concern, with sustained heat and ongoing activity being monitored closely by response teams. The update also says significant progress was made on Wednesday in the 3-zone through a coordinated effort involving local crews, Manitoba Wildfire Service, aerial resources, and heavy equipment. The town of Snow Lake says that these combined operations have allowed for steady advancement of containment objectives in that area. Monitoring of the situation is taking place overnight. The city of Canora is looking to expropriate a historic hotel that claims it has been neglected and underutilized. The city's mayor says it's a bold move by council, one he hopes will spark revitalization for that area. But as CTV's Danton Unger reports, not all are on board.
The historic Canora Hotel has been an iconic piece of Canora's skyline for more than a century. Now the city wants to take it over.
It's a bold move on behalf of the city and city council.
Canora Mayor Andrew Poirier says city council has voted to expropriate the privately owned hotel. If successful, he says the city would look for developers who will revitalize and restore the historic building.
I mean, it's the most iconic piece of property in the downtown core in the city of Canora, and it has all kinds of history.
It was built in 1910 as the Tourist Hotel, a part of the city's effort to promote itself as a tourism destination. The current owners have held it since 2005, but acting CAO Stace Gander says it's been neglected over the years.
We'd like to see it be restored to what it was before, quite frankly. If you look at the facade of that building, there's been little to no investment in the outside of that building in the last 20 years.
CTV News reached out to the owners who declined comment. For some, the plan is a welcome move.
I think it's about time somebody gets after that and restores it, brings it back to life. I think that's terrific.
But for homeless activist Marlene Elder, it's a cause for concern.
It's taking away places for people to live as opposed to adding to them.
Elder says she isn't against the expropriation, but worries it will ultimately displace the long-term residents currently living there.
If they were looking at it and developing a supportive housing project there, I'd be totally on board. I would be absolutely on board.
The city estimates there are about 20 residents living in the hotel.
We're doing what we can to work with those people to mitigate any risks that they have and support a smooth and orderly transition.
Gander says the whole process is expected to take 6 to 9 months. Danton Unger, CTV News, Canora.
A Montreal father accused of killing his daughter in upstate New York has been denied bail.
You have certain rights with respect to these charges. You have the right to remain silent, and you cannot be forced to testify against yourself.
Luciano Fratellin pleaded not guilty to charges of second-degree murder and concealment of a corpse. He's accused of killing his 9-year-old daughter, Melina, and is making up a story that she was kidnapped. They entered the U.S. earlier this month for a father-daughter trip. Prosecutors called Fratellin a flight risk, saying that he holds considerable assets along with Italian and Ethiopian passports. He's due back in court next month. Canada's billionaire Weston family wants to buy the original 1670 Royal Charter that formed Hudson Bay and donate it to the Canadian Museum of History. King Charles II issued the charter 355 years ago, gave the Bay rights to vast land spanning most of Canada and extraordinary power over trade and Indigenous relations for decades. The move is pending court approval. A Winnipeg golf course is marking a milestone.
There it is. There it is.
Golfers have been driving, chipping, slicing, and losing balls at Windsor Park Golf Course for 100 years now. The course opened to the public back on July 30th of 1925. The first ball that day was hit by Dr. Robert Fletcher, the park's board chairperson. It didn't take long for the course to become a favorite. Even now, a century later, tee times are quickly booked up. To mark its centennial, Windsor Park Golf Course is offering golfers the chance to tee off for a special rate of $19.25.
It's a place where people come to connect with nature, with neighbors, and with the joy of play.
During the winter, the course is used for cross-country skiing. Take a look at the current traffic situation along Keniston and Sterling Line. We are not aware of any stalls or crashes. Let us know if you spot otherwise. Here's a look at your gas prices now. The Canadian average stands at $1.37. The provincial average is lower, $1.33. And in Winnipeg, the average is $1.35. Lowest price in the city, $1.19. All this info, gasbuddy.com.
Price at the pump brought to you by kidneycard.ca. Get a free tow and a tax receipt for value of your car.
Joseph Bernacki is live from the St. Andrews Heritage Center. Good morning, Joseph. Who are you chatting with now?
Good morning, Ainsley, and good morning, Winnipeg. At this time, very pleased to be joined by Talon Thompson. He's going to be joining us for a few segments this morning. He's a program coordinator here at St. Andrews Rectory and Heritage Center. Pleasure to have you on our show this morning.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you guys here.
Yeah, this has been a great morning so far. It's beautiful checking out the grounds. Talon, for people who have never been here before, tell us all about this space behind us.
Right, so we're here at the St. Andrews Heritage Center and Rectory. At one point, this building was built in 1854, and it was the home for the Reverend of the church across the road, St. Andrews Anglican Church. And yeah, it's a great place to be. It's a beautiful stone building in the Georgian style of architecture. And yeah, that's what it was used for.
And you were telling me before, Reverends used this even up until 2010, which is pretty cool thinking back on history.
Yes, yeah, it's very neat. And it changed hands over the years a couple times, but it's a very interesting fact to know that people lived here all the way up into the modern era.
You guys have a chance to host different summer programming. Of course, July is coming to a wrap, but of course, August is, well, just around the corner. What have you guys been offering so far throughout the summer?
So far, we've had many great events. We had our Free Kids Fridays. We've had our school trips, field trips, day camp visits, great things like that. We've also had our summer porch performances, which is where local artists from the area, they come and perform for our wonderful community here. We've also had our bike tours, which is another great event that we supply here at the St. Andrews Heritage Center.
And there's a walking club that kind of comes through this area, this part of St. Andrews as well? Yeah.
Right, yeah, so starting in August, every Tuesday, we have a free walking club, and that's something new that we're starting. So for groups of people that want some summer exercise, they get to walk down River Road and learn about some of the other historic stops along the River Road Heritage Parkway.
The porch performances you mentioned, I love that style of a concert, very casual, laid-back atmosphere. People can bring their own chairs, I imagine, as well, to come here?
Yeah, people bring their own chairs, and they enjoy it quite a bit. They bring their own snacks. It really is a great event every Thursday evenings.
Wonderful. Well, Talon's going to be joining us again in the 7 o'clock hour. We'll be back for more conversations from the St. Andrews Heritage and Rectory Center, learning a little bit more about the agricultural history, the settlers who came to this part of Manitoba, and so much more. Stay tuned for your Thursday CTV Morning Live.
Thank you, Joseph. Terry, outside, the story of the week appears to be the smoke.
Yeah, it's not ideal, and even as this situation is changing, then it's going to be less ideal for folks who maybe had it a little bit better earlier on this week. For example, some parts of the most northern part of Manitoba have not been under that heavy smoke warning. It's been basically from about Thompson area further south for the last stretch of days. But now, as we're starting to see things shifting somewhat, it's moving into those parts of northern Manitoba, even though we're starting to see some improvements here in the south. So some win, some lose in this scenario. And it looks like the winners today are going to be west central and southwestern Manitoba, where the situation is the clearest. Not here in Winnipeg or much of the southeast. We remain under the heavy smoke. 11 degrees right now with 11K winds out of the west-southwest. Now those winds will continue to shift, and we will start to see some improvements. But again, improvements for some probably mean deteriorating situation for others. Now, aside from the heavy smoke, there's also the heat, and we're starting to notice excessive heat warnings as they're being issued through parts of the northwest. Temperatures in places like Flin Flon, the Pas, Lynn Lake, you could be getting up to 29 degrees today. Now, there is a slim chance of some precipitation, showers or thunderstorms moving across some parts of northern Manitoba. Here in the south, likely to remain dry, likely to remain sunny, and a little bit smoky too. Taking a break right now. We'll be back with more on CTV Morning Live.
CTV Morning Live weather brought to you by Mr. Lube Plus Tires. Same-day oil and tire changes.
Looking at the early markets, futures are firmly in positive territory ahead of the open. Dow futures are up 108 points. NASDAQ futures are seeing the biggest boost, up 310 points. S&P 500 futures have added 57 points. The Canadian dollar is seeing a slight increase this morning. Overseas, the Hang Seng is down 403 points, while Japan's Nikkei is up by 415 points. Good morning. A troubling new report reveals Manitoba has one of the highest rates of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in Canada, and it found our province may be acting as a feeder for sex trafficking. The disturbing implication here is that Indigenous women and girls are being taken from our province at disproportionately high rates and trafficked to other parts of the country. The report from data and research company Thompson Reuters examined the connection between MMIWG cases and sex advertisements on escort websites. It analyzed 185 disappearances between 2010 and 2023, finding Winnipeg had the highest share at 14%. Looking at the provinces, Manitoba was in second place at 21% behind Alberta. Researchers also collected nearly 3,500 sex ads that claimed to feature an Indigenous woman or girl over the past 9 years. They found well over half were posted in Ontario, 1/5 were posted in BC, and slightly less than 1/5 were posted in Alberta.
It's unfortunate that people have to leave their home community, be further at risk and vulnerable in urban areas, and they don't necessarily need to be leaving their community. If we had these services and supports available in community, and then what we would see is that our leadership would be able to protect their community members in a way that we currently can't.
The authors point out some cases of missing women may be unconnected to sex trafficking, and some Indigenous women featured in a sex ad may never have been considered missing. However, they say that the evidence suggests there is still a strong link between the two factors. Head to ctvnewswinnipeg.ca to find out more about why our city tops the list for disappearances, why cities like Edmonton and Ottawa are hotspots for sex advertising, and what the report says can be done about it. Residents along the BC coast were on alert for a tsunami after one of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded. The 8.8 magnitude hit Tuesday in far eastern Russia, triggering some panic across the Pacific. CTV's Andrew Johnson looks at the warnings and the wake-up calls.
In Russia, they scrambled out of crumbling buildings, held on for dear life, and at the hospital, surgery became a struggle. Within hours, one of the largest earthquakes in modern history triggered tsunami alerts in more than 20 countries.
It's almost impossible to describe just how large an earthquake of this magnitude is.
In Japan, millions of people were told to evacuate to higher ground. Some were seen moving to the top of tall buildings. Honolulu was in gridlock as people raced to get away from the coast.
It's an easy thing. Get away from the beaches, get inland, and get upward.
On Canada's west coast, beaches were closed, and there was a lot of uncertainty during a 13-hour tsunami advisory, warning of strong waves and potential flooding.
Those long-standing incidents where, you're half a day going, is there something coming? Is it going to be okay? Are certainly unsettling, and we heard that from a lot of people in our community.
In Port Alberni on Vancouver Island, that concern is rooted in the memory of what happened in 1964 when a tsunami caused widespread destruction.
We really try to keep it top of mind for people, not so that they're worried all the time, but so that, if we do have an incident and we have to evacuate a portion of our community in the middle of the night, we're ready and able to do that.
The Premier says the provincial alert system worked as expected.
The province, local governments, regional districts all work together to ensure people are safe. It was a good trial run for us. So if we do see a major event in the future, we know we have a system that should work to deliver that warning.
Experts are calling this a wake-up call for people to think about their personal preparedness in a province overdue for a major earthquake and potential tsunami much closer to home. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Protesters in Seoul this morning held a rally against South Korea's trade deal with the U.S. Under the agreement, most South Korean goods will be hit with a 15% tariff. U.S. exports like cars and agricultural products can enter tariff-free. The U.S. was threatening South Korea with 25% tariff. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers will be without their starting quarterback when the team faces the Toronto Argonauts on Friday. After a tough start, Zach Collaros sat out the second half of Saturday's game in Toronto. The team never said why. Winnipeg lost 31-17. It was the Bombers' third loss in a row. Collaros didn't practice with the team on Wednesday. He's now listed on the injury report with a neck ailment. But head coach Mike O'Shea says the team's recent misfortunes rest on more than just the quarterback.
And I see an entire team, that has taken turns making mistakes. So I think the quarterback is, as they would say, is given too much credit for losses and wins, possibly,
Chris Strevler will likely get the start on Friday. Kickoff is 7:30. Taking a look at the current traffic situation, here is Main and Broadway. Outside of your usual traffic cones for construction, no stalls or crashes to report.
All right, 11 degrees outside this morning with winds out of the west-southwest. The wind's just 11 kilometers per hour. The pressure rising and the humidity sitting at 83%. Once again, though, you can see the smoke hanging around outside, and you can see that we remain under those heavy smoke warnings. Improvements have started through west central and parts of the southwest, not right along that most southern border, but anybody along the eastern border up until the northeast where things are a little bit clearer. But now this smoke has moved right into parts of northwestern Manitoba, right along that most northern border where it had been clear. And then the pink that you've seen moving in, well, that's an excessive heat warning. And boy, are you ever going to feel it today with above seasonal temperatures expected in that part of the province. Well, most places will expect above seasonal temperatures by a few degrees at least. And it's going to be warm, just not quite as hot as areas off to the east. Some places, the possibility of maybe some precipitation, showers, but even possible thunderstorms. For Thompson, it's just going to be a smoky one for you, and then that chance of precipitation here in the northwest, where again those temperatures will be on the rise, getting close to the 30-degree mark with the potential for some showers or thunderstorms developing later today. West central Manitoba, this is where the air will likely be the cleanest and clearest for today. You've noticed some improvements already regarding the smoke. Not the case here in the southeastern part of the province. 26 degrees where we're headed temperature-wise is bang on normal for this time of year. Maybe slightly cleaner air in areas just off to the east of us. We might notice some improvements continuing as these winds out of the west today will continue out of the south for tomorrow, but temperatures continuing to rise.
Thank you, Terry. Morse code is becoming a lost art, but there is a new generation of telegraph operators, and it's emerging. It's at one of the only places in North America that's teaching the craft to teenagers. CTV's Kevin Fleming reports.
They're two of the 6 junior members of the Morse Telegraph Club at Heritage Park. Sienna Wright says it's easier to send a message in Morse code than to receive and decode one. Her technique is to write down what she hears and then turn the code into letters of the alphabet.
I'm fascinated by the past. I really like learning how things were done and dressing up like the past, so I really enjoy doing this.
Ariane Aubin has memorized the code and says it takes a keen ear to decipher an incoming message. Her sister is a member too, and they practice at home.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I've texted her in Morse code before. I've also tapped between our walls at home, so it's sort of like our own little thing that no one else really understands.
Morse code was invented in the 1840s as a way to send messages quickly over long distances.
The railroads primarily used it to transmit train orders from a dispatcher to a little station like this. That was the chief reason. They weren't using it all the time, so any extra capacity in the system, it was telegrams.
To get messages to engineers and conductors of a moving train, operators used hoops at the end of a long pole so the train didn't have to stop, a technique still in practice at the park. Marilyn McGuire heads the club and says visitors at the park enjoy seeing their names spelled out in Morse code. She says it's important to teach the craft to the next generation.
It's a dying art. People who did it as a job are in their late 80s, some of them in their 90s. There are a few that have picked it up and learned as their 70s, but this is the only club internationally that has been working with young people.
We have people come in that say their grandparents used to do it, and it's sort of nice for like a newer generation to sort of continue, know a bit of the history.
Kevin Fleming, CTV News, Calgary.
A young boy from the U.S. has become a singing sensation. He's hard to miss. Here's ABC's Danny New.
If 2024 had the summer of Grammy winner Chapel Roan telling us she's hot to go, then 2025 summer is taking us from craze to crave, thanks to the 10-year-old who goes by Hot Dog Harv.
I was like, they love this thing.
Since performing his parody of the Chapel Roan hit at his elementary school's talent show in Cincinnati, Harvey Hoops' Hot Dog Anthem has been picking up millions of views on social media. Inspired by his hero, Weird Al Yankovic, Harvey says he initially got the idea after hearing his sister play Hot to Go all the time. As his dad recalls,
him and his mom would listen to the song and he came up with words.
Soon professional sports teams started inviting Harvey to come perform. For example, the Cleveland Guardians happened to hold a hot dog mascot race at their home games. So, of course, they were legally bound to have Harvey come sing at Progressive Field. And when the world's most entertaining baseball team, the Savannah Bananas, came backflipping into Cincy, they knew which crooning coney to call. Harvey says he's next planning to parody Chapel Roan's mega hit Pink Pony Club with a reference to the signature hot dogs at Cincinnati's famed Skyline Chili.
Cheese Coney Club?
Yes, the Cheese Coney Club. I'm gonna keep on
eating, probably.
Eating at the Cheese Coney Club.
The Coney was, of course, popularized by Nathan's famous New York's Coney Island. And in fact, Nathan's official account commented on Harvey's video asking if they should make his anthem their new theme song. I, of course, vote yes, please. In New York, for ABC News, I'm Danny New.
The Winnipeg Sea Bears season continues, and we want you to be part of the action. The Sea Bears will be taking on the Brampton Honey Badgers August 8th. So if you want to be in the stands, we've got the contest for you. CTV Morning Live is giving away a family pack of 4 tickets to give away to the game. Head to our website, ctvnewswinnipeg.ca. Hit our contest page for all the entry details. Don't miss your shot. Here's a live look at the Notre Dame Avenue. We've got more news, weather, and traffic on the go. Good morning, Manitoba. Happy Thursday, or as I like to call it, Friday Junior. We got a great show lined up for you today, including at around 7:32, a conversation with an economist. That August 1st trade deadline for the 35% tariff that President Trump is imposing. A lot of chat about it on our show throughout the week, including a conversation that we had with the U.S. ambassador. So we're going to get him to weigh in on if the deal is met and what that could look like for Manitobans. First, here's a look at our headlines. Wildfire smoke shuts down sports. Even the Bombers scrapped practice as air quality plummets. Plus, crime and safety concerns rising. Are Manitobans feeling less safe in their own neighborhoods? And Oreo meets Reese's. It's the sweetest and tastiest corporate romance ever. Well. Terry, we have been talking about the smoke all week, truly. Are we going to get any relief? That's my question.
I mean, some brief relief, or some, I should say, slow relief is a better way to word that. These winds are starting to shift, and we've already started to see some improvements in some parts of the province. But as it improves in some parts, it gets worse in others. That's the thing about the smoke. It doesn't really dissipate. It just kind of shifts around. 11 degrees right now with winds out of the west-southwest, 11 kilometers per hour. The pressure rising and the humidity sitting at 83%. So, for example, the most northern part of the province had not been included in those heavy smoke warnings. You can see that today they are, as it's cleared somewhat out of the southwest or west-central Manitoba, is only pushed further up into the north. Along with the heavy smoke warnings, which still include most of Manitoba, we've now got some excessive heat warnings in parts of the northwest. Those temperatures will be on the rise, and you couple hot temperatures with that heavy smoke, and you're looking at very uncomfortable conditions. There's not much to show you here on the satellite image, and there likely won't be a whole lot going on today. Mainly sunny throughout most of the province. There is the possibility for later on today that we're starting to see a little bit of shower activity passing through. But along with that the possibility of showers comes the chance of thunderstorms as well. So that's more for northern Manitoba. Mostly here in the south, it's just going to remain sunny but smoky. And then, like I said, we might start to get some improvements. These winds today are the west and then the southwest. So some slight improvements may come regarding the smoke, but today it is still hanging around for the most part. Temperatures will also continue to heat up another couple degrees throughout the weekend and for next week. Our art today is beautiful, though. Thank you to 6-year-old Stella for this stunning rainbow. And keep the art coming. We would love to see what you're working on. Send pictures of it to Winnipeg Weather at ctv.ca.
Thanks very much, Terry. Many youth sports in Manitoba have had to cancel or postpone practices and games because of the poor air quality. Even the city's big football club, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, have canceled its outdoor practice on Tuesday. This as wildfires continue to burn in northern Manitoba, bringing smoke south. CTV's Jeff Keel has more.
George Marcineau limits the amount of time his granddaughter and her friend spend outside when the wildfire smoke blows in.
If it's very thick, we won't let them go out.
Concerns over the negative health impacts of wildfire smoke have forced several youth sports organizations to cancel or postpone events and practices.
The air quality is a massive concern where obviously kids' health is first and foremost.
We've definitely felt the effects of the smoke.
The Winnipeg Youth Soccer Association says it lost a number of tournament games at the end of May and early June, and they're juggling some league games now.
Cancellations and then reschedules to later on in the season, which hopefully we can play those matches, but again, it depends on how the weather's going to be.
Football Manitoba says volunteers who help run their clubs are finding ways to get games in when the air quality improves.
It hasn't gotten to the point where we've actually lost any tackle events yet. We did lose our provincial flag championships this year. The entire event was canceled.
Even players with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers couldn't practice outside Tuesday. Instead, they did some preparation inside.
Hang around together as players and talk more football. So we got a lot of stuff done. It's good.
Andrew Haleko is a research chair at the University of Manitoba. He says the ramifications for children due to wildfire smoke may be worse as they are more vulnerable.
With a perhaps underdeveloped immune system, they haven't seen the exposures you have as an adult and built up some of the resistance.
He says they've received funding for a lab to study long-term health impacts of car exhaust and wildfire smoke.
We already have generations of the population that have been exposed to bad air, and we don't know what's coming decades from now.
George Marcineau does wonder what this will mean for the next generation.
Seems like we're getting this every year now, and it is worrisome for parents that have young children, I'm sure.
Jeff Keel, CTV News, Winnipeg.
The sports organizations say when cancellations and postponements happen, it's done based on safety policies and expert advice, all to keep kids safe. Leagues and teams try to move indoors when they can, but space is at a premium. For example, the Leela Soccer Complex is being used for wildfire evacuees. Tensions are running high in Thompson as a trio of wildfires burn out of control near the city.
It's really been unsettling that this is really actually happening to us.
It's being threatened by 3 fires to the north, collectively known as Thompson Complex, the closest to which is approximately 14 kilometers north-northeast. Councillor Kathy Valentino says U.S. fire breaks are going up this week for the north end of the city, and sprinklers are in place in various areas. Crews from Quebec are helping to put hotspots out. The city has been under a state of local emergency since July 7th, and it intends to renew the order for another 30 days. Crime and public safety are growing concerns for Manitobans, according to an opinion poll for the Manitoba government. The benchmark poll by Léger suggests affordability and health care remain the most pressing concerns. Crime was the third most cited worry among 69% of respondents. That number has steadily risen in 3 consecutive Léger polls, going back to February of 2023. Half of the respondents said that the number of immigrants coming to Manitoba is too high, while 25% said the number is just about right. The survey was commissioned by the province and obtained by the Canadian Press through a Freedom of Information Act request. 818 Manitobans responded to the survey in October. It cannot be assigned to a margin of error because online polls are not random samples of the population. Prime Minister Mark Carney says U.S. trade talks may go past tomorrow's deadline.
As you know, we're seeking the best deal for Canadians. We have not yet reached that deal. Negotiations will continue until we do.
The U.S. is set to hit some Canadian goods with a 35% tariff tomorrow. There has been another move that could further Canadian businesses. Yet another. President Trump is suspending an exemption that allows packages worth less than $800 into the U.S. tariff-free. The Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses says about a third of small exporters in our country use this exemption. New research shows you can actually die of a broken heart after the death of a loved one, especially if the grief is overwhelming. Bereaved relatives who experienced high levels of grief symptoms were more likely to die in the 10 years following their bereavement than those who experienced low levels of grief. High levels of grief are defined as experiencing more than half of 9 grief symptoms, which include feeling emotionally numb or that life is meaningless, difficulty accepting the loss, and confusion over one's own identity. The motorcycle ride for Dad is hitting the highway to celebrate its 25th anniversary.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Wingham to Winnipeg.
Riders from Southern Ontario, the Yukon, and Newfoundland handed over the flag to the Winnipeg chapter on Wednesday morning. It's part of a flag relay which started in Kitchener-Waterloo and is making its way to each of the 25 chapters in Canada before it's done. While the riders normally spend the year talking to men about their prostate health, this event is a little different.
We know that for the most part, many women are involved with looking after their men's health. So this trip in particular, women are talking to women, and we're pushing that you book an appointment, get them out there. It's just a blood test.
The Manitoba Motorcycle Ride for Dad will deliver the flag to its next stop, Regina. Our local chapter has just completed its 17th ride. It's raised more than $5.7 million for the fight against prostate cancer. National, the events have raised more than $43 million. If you love Oreos and you love peanut butter cups, then this next story, well, it's for you. Oreos and Reese's are teaming up for a collaboration, combining the flavors of both snacks. Here's what's really interesting about it, though. The two sweet treats are owned by different companies. The team up between the rival companies is rare. They say it's in response to consumer demand. But it could also be both companies are trying to generate a little buzz. Mondelez, which owns Oreos, reported a 3.5% decline in North American sales in the second quarter. Portage Avenue, this is our traffic camera right now at 7:09. Volumes look so far so good. St. Andrews Heritage Center is where Joseph is this morning. Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning, Ainsley, and good morning, Manitoba. Yeah, we've been having a great morning so far. We're inside the house right now, of course. It's the old Georgian-style Scottish manor here at the St. Andrews Rectory and Heritage Center. Really neat history on display, everything from different Scottish tapestries. Of course, the tartans. You can take a look at, if you can look up your last name, if your family has Scottish heritage, you can scroll through this whole catalog here and see all the different things on display. Neat church artifacts in this room, of course, with reference to St. Andrews Church, which is just across the road here. In the RM of St. Andrews. Right now, cameraman Scott and I are moving into the kitchen, which is really neat to see the old stove on display. Many things, of course, that some of the settlers here in St. Andrews used over 150 years ago. Coming up in this hour, we're going to be talking more about the architectural history, more of the inside features of this building. We're going to be moving into the foyer in about 20 minutes' time. Talk a little bit of agriculture and more, so stay tuned for your Thursday CTV Morning Live.
Thank you, Joseph. Terry joining us once again. How's it feel upstairs?
A little bit cool. There is still that haze hanging around. I was just checking on the air quality chart. We're coming in at about a 2, which is considered fairly low risk. Again, anybody with compromised health issues, still take all of the necessary precautions, but we are starting to see some slight improvements with that air quality, even though we do remain under the heavy smoke warning. 12 degrees right now. The sun has finally risen above the buildings in the downtown area, and I'm starting to feel the warmth of it, and it's reciprocating in our temperature too. We were at 11 last hour. We're now sitting at 12, so we're reflecting, pardon me, in those temperatures. West winds, they're 12 kilometers per hour. The pressure rising, the humidity sitting at 81%, and yes, it is on the smokier side, but we might continue to see some improvements as the day goes on and these winds continue out of the west or the southwest, as they will. and clearing out some of this air. But it only clears it out of the south and continues to push it into parts of northern Manitoba, where there's not just the heavy smoke warning, but now in the northwest, a heat warning as well. Temperatures there are expected to skyrocket into the high 20s. A slim chance of some precipitation, possible showers, maybe some thunderstorms rolling across parts of the north. Here in the south, it's just going to be hot and sunny.
CTV Morning Live Weather is brought to you by Destination Dinner Stage, Manitoba's only musical dinner theater.
Thank you, Terry. Cameraman Kenny and I have a long-standing debate about which is better, pie or cake. Okay, which is it? Our question of the day is, what's your all-time favorite baked treat? Is it homemade? Is it from the bakery? Which bakery is that? Can you send it to us? Okay, our question of the day has moved from Twitter, though, so we want you to text in your answer along with your name, too. It's 10400. Follow those automated instructions so we can feature your response. It's Thursday, and you know what that means? It's time for our pet of the week. Say hello to Sonic, Tuck, and Dude, 3 fluffy little ducklings who have absolutely stolen the spotlight and our hearts. Big thanks to Sharon for sending this adorable trio. Honestly, we don't know how she gets anything done with these little cuties around. They've brightened up our morning in the best way, and that's why they're our pet of the week. Congratulations, little waddlers. We can't get enough of your adorable pet pics. Please keep them coming, whether it's, walks, flies, hops. We want to meet your pet. Send a photo and a short little story of the pet of the week. CTV.ca, and catch us every Thursday between 6 and 9 on CTV Morning Live to see if your buddy made the spotlight. Here's a live look at the Provincial Bridge. We've got more news, weather, and traffic coming up. Good morning. A coalition of Manitoba environmental organizations says that the wildfires and smoke that they produce is a result of climate change. Dozens of people took to the steps of the Manitoba legislature on Wednesday, calling on the government to do more to cut emissions and curb climate change. Climate Action Team Manitoba says the NDP hasn't lived up to its campaign promises on climate action, abandoning its emissions targets and promoting fossil fuel expansion. The group claims many fear this year's wildfire season is a sign of things to come.
All of us have been breathing in dangerous air from the smoke, and what feels especially heavy is that many of us worry this could be our future.
The campaign is encouraging concerned Manitobans to write Wild Canoe a postcard. The group says it's collected 500 so far. You can find the postcard on the Climate Team Manitoba's website. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada intends to join 2 of its Western allies in recognizing a Palestinian state at the UN this fall.
Canada intends to recognize the State of Palestine at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2025.
The Prime Minister has spoken to the President of the Palestinian Authority about the plan, saying his intention to recognize a Palestinian state is based on their commitment to reforms. Reforms include holding general elections next year, where Hamas plays no part. Israel's foreign ministry is rejecting the announcement, saying Hamas is being rewarded for the atrocities of October 7th, 2023. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has responded to Carney's announcement, saying on Truth Social, quote, "Wow, Canada has just announced that it's backing statehood for Palestine. That will make it very hard for us to make a trade deal with them. Oh, Canada." It seems the future of care may be robots. A conference in China is talking about the future of robots in the nanny industry. A nanny robot can work in elder care, schooling, or household services, doing nursing, monitoring health, and offering companionship. Industry experts say that the cost of building nanny robots is going down, and their use is expected to skyrocket over the next few years. Here's Mick Phillips Street this morning. We are not aware of any stalls or crashes. When it's safe and legal to do so, let us know if you see any.
Traffic is brought to you by Curtis Carpets, Manitoba's flooring experts.
People in Flin Flon are getting ready to enjoy some blueberry jam, and we're not talking about the sweet spread.
There will be peace in the valley for me.
The Blueberry Jam Music Festival returns to Flin Flon on August 8th to 10th. The 3-day free community festival invites local and out-of-town performers to gather and share their music. For more information, visit flinflonblueberryjam.ca. A couple of big names are coming to Winnipeg. It's part of Winnipeg Comic-Con, a pop culture exhibition slated for October. Winnipeg Comic-Con started in 2019. Many people who attend dress up as their favorite sci-fi or fantasy characters. The event includes celebrity interviews and autograph sessions. This year features actor Lou Diamond Phillips, famous for his role in the movie La Bamba, among many other films. Besides Phillips will be Ron Perlman, known for playing the title role in the Hellboy movies, and had a starting role in Sons of Anarchy. The event takes place October 24th to 26th at the RBC Convention Center. For tickets, visit comiconwinnipeg.com. Circus fun under the big top is coming to Winnipeg. That's Europa Super Circus. It's a classic circus with a modern twist. The show offers an evening of mesmerizing lights and thrilling performances from all around the globe. Performances include tight wire acrobats, rides on the Wheel of Death, high-flying aerialists, and comedic clowns. Europa Super Circus runs in Winnipeg from August 21st to 31st. Visit supercircus.com for more information. Beat those midweek blues with the Rookie starting at 8, then wind down with E-Talk at 10:30. It's all right here on CTV. Terry, outside, all of us are talking about the smoke. I mean, we had a story about sports being canceled as well. We got to stay safe, of course.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the primary concern, is making sure that everybody is keeping safe. Right now, we're sitting at a number 2 on the scale. You can see outside, it looks pretty terrible. Again, our camera's a little bit higher up in the sky. I'm not saying that it's not terrible, but it maybe looks worse than it is. Through the Bathfitter Live Eye now. Bathfitter, your bath and shower experts for more than 40 years. I mean, the air quality scale goes from 1 to about 11, and we have had it sitting at 11 at times so far this season. So we're kind of in the low risk area. But again, if you already have some health issues, you don't want to risk it, even at that low risk zone. 12 degrees is where we're sitting right now as far as the temperatures go, which is pretty close to seasonal, 13 being a normal low. Now, coming in at 13 already is Portage, Morden, Winkler, or we've got Canora coming in at 15 degrees. Most of us did start out the morning slightly below seasonal, these cooler temperatures, and then, of course, yes, the smoke. Whereas northern Manitoba, not dealing with the cooler temperatures. In fact, you're going to see right away the heat warnings in place. You were starting out already in these mid-teens this morning, a couple of single digits, but those will be on the rise. Now, there's smoke warnings under the heat warnings. It's a layered up map right now, so don't think that the smoke has lifted in this area. That is not at all the case. Where we're seeing some improvements with the smoke is southwestern Manitoba, and northeastern Manitoba is not under those warnings either. The satellite image, there's really nothing going on there. Temperatures today depicting the rise that we're going to see, and those heat warnings pushing those temperatures in the northwest up into those high 20s. A 26-degree day here in the south is seasonal, so we're bang on that, but it will continue to warm up as we head toward the weekend. And beautiful shot taken out at Leo Mull Sculpture Garden. Thanks to Debbie for sending this to us. Keep them coming, please, to Winnipeg Weather at ctv.ca.
Thank you, Terry. Researchers are making progress treating a common knee problem that can often lead to a knee replacement. But now a new approach that might make a replacement unnecessary. CTV's Rita Ismail reports.
Knee osteoarthritis affects people around the world, bringing pain, stiffness, and eventually joint replacement surgery for many. But a new study led by researchers at Western University and the Fowler Kennedy Sport Medicine Clinic is offering hope.
The surgeons will try to intervene earlier in the disease process than later, after the patient is not improving with good non-operative care. So in the surgery, they'll take that malaligned limb, so that bowed limb, and actually straighten it to shift loads away from that most damaged compartment of the knee.
The 2-year clinical trial followed 145 patients, comparing those who had high tibial osteotomy, or HTO, along with non-surgical therapy, to those who had therapy alone. The results were clear. HTO slowed joint damage, reduced pain, and improved movement, offering offering the first real evidence that a treatment can actually change the course of osteoarthritis.
Surgery has a long-standing history, many decades. It actually has roots in a lot of countries in Europe, and we actually had the original procedures being done here by Dr. Peter Fowler.
While HTO is less common than joint replacement, the study's authors say it deserves renewed attention, especially for people in their 50s with specific alignment issues.
The study also has wider implications in that it shows if you improve the biomechanics acting on the joint, you can actually alter the course of osteoarthritis.
The procedure isn't for everyone, but for the right patients, it could delay or even prevent knee replacement. Rita Ismail, CTV News.
It's that time of year, Manitoba, and CTV and Chicken Chef want you to show off how you're soaking up the season. From concerts to getaways, whatever makes your summer magical, we want to see it. We've seen some amazing moments so far, and now it's your turn to shine. Show us your sunshine for a chance to win the $5,000 grand prize, plus daily $50 Chicken Chef gift card giveaways. That's not all. You could also snag an Akona Aruba stand-up paddleboard from Wilderness Supply. Grab your phone, share your summer with us today. Coming up at 7:28, Joseph Bernacki is live from the St. Andrews Heritage Center. When was it built? What were the materials? We'll find out. Every time I go to the St. Andrews Heritage Center, I learn something new. I'm peeling through all the different tartans, trying to find my last name, just gathering new fun facts. And Joseph Bernacki's there this morning from the parlor room. Good morning, Joseph.
Yeah. Good morning, Ainsley. Yeah, we'll be heading into the parlor room in just a moment. I'm very pleased to be joined again by Talon Thompson, and program coordinator here from St. Andrews Rectory and Heritage Center. Talon, talk to us about the construction of this manor. It's absolutely really interesting to learn about. Yeah,
so this building was built in 1954, like I mentioned, and it was built using all locally quarried limestone, and it was built using many of the tools that you see in this display here. Another very interesting piece that we note is that it was actually deconstructed in the 1980s and reconstructed to make the building more structurally sound.
And that digital frame on the left kind of encompasses that and shows a nice timeline. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then across the hall here in the foyer, of course, we got the history of all the served and spent time here. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so John West was the first reverend that came into the area, and he lived in a wooden rectory. And just below that, William Cochran, he really started all the construction process here on the two rectory and the church across the road.
And if we head into the parlor, we can actually showcase more of this beautiful house. So many different things to see in this room. What would you like to talk about first? I know you mentioned before we were live, the couch on the left is quite stunning to look at.
Yeah, so that couch is a mid-18th century or 19th century couch. It's actually made of the tail hairs of a horse. And they made these, they were actually surprisingly relatively cheap to build. So they were pretty common in a European house.
And of course, there's all these lovely plates on display. Well, what can you tell us about, I know the one you wanted to highlight before in the back there.
Yeah, so that plate with the fasteners in it, it's actually called a staple plate. And that's because the plates that would have broken, they, instead of sending them all the way back to Europe to be replaced, they would take them over to the Hudson's or to Lower Fort Garry, to the jeweler, and he would drill holes in them and repair them.
And what do you love the most about this room?
I just love all the clutter. It really shows off kind of the wealth that the Reverend would have had. This was their important gathering place for important members of the community.
Well, it's appreciated to have you on our show again, Talon. You'll be joining us again for one more segment. We'll be back at 7:42 talking about some of the agricultural history and some of the settlers that came to St. Andrews. Stay tuned.
Thank you, Joseph. I love that he said he loves the clutter. He should come to my house. That'd be great. What a beautiful
design. More than one volunteer that'd be like, yeah, I got a space that you'll totally love.
Yeah. Outside today.
Yeah, it's the smoke that's the story once again. We've got the warnings in place throughout most of the province. Some places seeing some slight improvements while others not so much. We're right now sitting at 12 degrees in Winnipeg with winds out of the west 12 kilometers per hour. The pressure rising and the humidity sitting at 81%. You can see the smoke out there. The map, we're still included with all of the heavy smoke warnings right down into the southeastern part of the province. Parts of west central Manitoba have been cleared or I suppose the smoke has cleared out of the way and those warnings have lifted. But you'll notice that it's now including parts of northern Manitoba that hadn't until yesterday been included in that, as the smoke just really does seem to shift. It's not like it really clears out, it just kind of moves around. The pink that you're seeing in northwestern Manitoba, that's an excessive heat warning on top of the heavy smoke, so that can make for just some stifling and unpleasant conditions there. Not much to show you here on our satellite image today. There is the possibility that parts of northern Manitoba will see a brief passing shower or thunderstorm. We're looking at a seasonal high of 26 through the daytime today and dropping down to 12 degrees tonight with clear conditions. Still probably on the smokier side both through the day and overnight. These winds, they are starting to clear things out. For example, we're now at 2 on that scale, and we have at times earlier this week been up in those high single digits. So improvements, but it's going to take some time. Sunny again tomorrow, 20-degree winds or 20-kilometer-an-hour winds out of the south, as we're looking for highs at about 27 degrees, slightly above seasonal, and those temperatures staying above normal throughout the weekend and continuing on into the middle of next week.
Thank you, Terry. The ongoing Canada-U.S. trade war has sparked numerous conversations nationwide, especially with Trump's August 1st deadline looming, one that would see a 35% tariff applied to Canadian goods. Prime Minister Mark Carney stated recently that a deal with no tariffs is unlikely. Here to break down what it all means is the U of M's Associate Head of Economics and Society, Fletcher Barker. Good morning, Fletcher.
Good morning.
So do you have any predictions? It's so soon. We've been talking about it for a while. Do you have any predictions for how this will shake out tomorrow?
Well, I think one of the characteristics of the new Trump administration in Washington is that it's been very difficult to make any sort of predictions, or at least to make any predictions that prove to be accurate. And I think even though we're right at the 11th hour and right before that August 1st deadline, again, I sort of feel that it's a bit of a fool's game. You're really taking a shot in the dark to try to predict just exactly what might happen. The August 1st deadline has been one that's been referred to both by the United States and of course by Prime Minister Carney. But we've seen many instances of where there's been the deadlines have been shifted or stayed, or negotiations go on, and it could be a very eventful 24 hours, so it's really hard to tell.
No kidding. What are the potential economic consequences for Canada with a 35% tariff?
Well, I think one thing that just in general really concerns businesses as well as policymakers and consumers and tourists and all sorts of people involved in the economy one way or another is to try to get a reading of just what the economic environment is. What is the structure of prices? What is available? What is not available? And then especially for huge investments or long-term investments or making longer-term plans, we're trying to sort of anticipate what it's going to be like 6 months from now, a year from now, 18 months from now. And that's been a really topsy-turvy sort of situation ever since the U.S. election in November of last year. And so I think one thing that Canada really wants is to provide some degree of certainty. What exactly is the economic landscape going to be? How permanent is it going to be? What is the structures? And then on that basis, at least Canadian governments, Canadian households, and certainly Canadian businesses could then try to plan accordingly. I'll just point out that back in the late 1980s, when there was discussions about the free trade agreement, which was ultimately signed in 88 and 89, again, part of what was driving Canada for the free trade agreement was to try to have some degree of certainty and some elements that would be sort of fixed so that Canadians didn't feel that they were always vulnerable or exposed to the whims or the political currents that could be shifting quite dramatically in the United States. When it was signed, it was thought, well, on that score, that was an advantage for Canada. And yet, here we are again, except even more uncertainty and far greater consequences.
Fletcher, any final thoughts before we're out of time?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if there was going to be another delay before August the 1st. I think what's more important, I mean, certainly everybody's sort of waiting to see the smoke clear and see what the landscape will be like. But I think my sense, at least from trying to read between the lines of pronouncements from the Canadian government, is that it's important to get a good and a workable agreement, and those things are complex. I think maybe taking a bit longer time rather than sort of meeting what I would call an artificially imposed deadline would be a wiser strategic move.
Fletcher, thank you so much for this conversation. And we're going to have updates on all of this on ctvnews.ca. It's 12 degrees right now. We've got a full forecast coming up.
CTV Morning Live is brought to you by Robin's Donuts, your favorite stop.
All right, still waking up with that smoke hanging over Winnipeg, much of the province, in fact. I'll show you the map in just a second. It's 12 degrees with 12K winds out of the west this morning. The pressure is rising and the humidity sitting at 81%. If it weren't for the smoke, it would be sunny, but we've got the smoke, and so we've got to talk about that. Through most of the province on the eastern side, you can see improvements in the southwest, not issued in the northeast. Now, you remember yesterday, it kind of topped out with the most northern part not included in that smoke. But as these winds are starting to shift, that smoke is starting to move a little bit. So it is now up into the far northern part of the province where it wasn't before. So it's not like we really win by having that smoke move around. It'll improve in some places, but get worse in others. And then on top of the smoke, we've got the excessive heat warning. And you can see a lot of areas off to the west as that heat is starting to creep into Manitoba, and you'll notice that sticking around for the next few days. Sunny conditions behind that smoke, but the smoke is the thing that you're going to notice first. Along with the warm temperatures today comes a slim chance of some precipitation in some areas, more through central Manitoba, the Island Lake areas, or off to the northwest. For Thompson, just some heavier smoke. The northeast was one of the clearer sections, so mid-20 temperatures and some sunshine for you. Here in the northwest, you've got the heat warnings, you've got the smoke warnings, and the possibility today of some showers or some thunderstorms. West central Manitoba, this is one of the cleaner areas as far as the air quality goes, with the warnings having lifted in west central Manitoba, but remaining in place all through southeastern Manitoba. 26 degrees, that would be a normal daytime high, and exactly where we're headed today. It will get warmer as we continue on through the rest of this week and weekend. And then looking ahead to next week, we're still a few degrees above the seasonal 26. Hazy conditions today and maybe some improvements to come tomorrow.
Thank you, Terry. Joseph Renacki is live at the St. Andrews Heritage Center, full of rich history, including our agricultural history.
Thanks, Ainsley. Yeah, good morning, Winnipeg. At this time, very pleased to be joined by Emily Bordelot-LaRoche. She is the Cultural and Heritage Manager for the RM of St. Andrews. Pleasure to have you on our show this morning.
Thank you.
Yeah, this room is full of agricultural history, as Ainsley mentioned. Talk to us a little bit about, of course, the Indigenous people that were here prior to settlers coming to, this area of the RM of St. Andrews now. What some of their practices looked like?
Well, contrary to popular belief, not everybody was a hunter and gatherer. Some of them were actually farmers as well. Some of these crops would have been beans, squash, and corn. You can see some of those types of corn there. They were really good at resisting frost and bugs as well. The Red River is also really known for its clay, and so you can see a clay pot. One of the things that the Indigenous peoples would also do is mark those pots with different, almost like a logo, so that they were able to get their things back after they've traded. So the idea of marking your Tupperware and handing it back to your family members is something that's been done for hundreds of years.
And then just behind you, of course, or behind us this morning, of course, we have the display of the bison. Of course, we know they were very important to the prairie life here in Manitoba and across Western Canada. Talk to us a little bit about this display.
Well, the buffalo back then were actually 25% larger than they are now, so they were much, much bigger. They would feed more families, and every single piece would have been used for something. Nothing was ever wasted. So whether it was garden tools or food or clothing, every single piece was used.
And of course, a little bit of history, of course, with when the settlers came here in this portion of the room. What would you like to tell us?
Well, the European settlers brought their cattle, sheep, pigs, chickens, all of that with them, and that really changed the landscape of the farming here, and it also made the population grow exponentially.
And before we wrap up this segment, Emily, tell me a little bit about this beautiful wooden wheel here, of course. We had a chance to show the Red River carts last week in Lower Fort Garry. What can you tell us about this display?
So one thing that's really great about these Red River carts is that they didn't use any metal. So if you were in the middle of nowhere, you couldn't go to Canadian Tire and get a replacement nail. Everything was made by wood. The only downside is that they were very loud because it was wood grinding on wood, and that became the soundtrack of the prairies multiple times a year.
Awesome history we get a chance to showcase. Emily and Talon are going to be back in the 8 o'clock hour from St. Andrew's Heritage Centre. We're going to be in the vegetable garden in about 20 minutes time. Stay tuned for more coverage.
Thank you, Joseph. Tensions are running high in Thompson as a trio of wildfires burn out of control near the city.
It's really been unsettling that this is really actually happening to us.
It's being threatened by 3 fires to the north, collectively known as the Thompson Complex, the closest of which is approximately 14 kilometers northeast. Councillor Kathy Valentino says U.S. fire breaks are going up this week on the north end of the city, and sprinklers are in place in various areas. Crews from Quebec are helping put out hotspots. The city has been under a state of local emergency since July 7th and says it intends to renew the order for another 30 days. Canadian pharmacies are taking steps to mitigate a shortage of prescription painkillers. Health Canada says drugs in short supply include those that contain acetaminophen with oxycodone, as well as acetaminophen with codeine, for instance, Tylenol 3. These medications are prescribed to treat ailments from root canals to chronic back pain. Health Canada said that addressing the shortage is top priority, and it's working with healthcare providers, provincial officials, manufacturers, and distributors to share information and monitor the supply. The Winnipeg Jets have locked up a rising star on the team's blue line for another 3 seasons. The club announced Wednesday it's reached a 3-year deal with defenseman Dylan Samberg. He'll get $5.75 million per season. It's a bit of a race for the Minnesotan. The restricted free agent was coming off of a 2-year, $2.8 million contract. The 26-year-old set career highs last year with 6 goals and 20 points. The Jets selected Samberg in the second round of the 2017 NHL draft. Taking a look at the current traffic situation along the Norwood Bridge. Looks great so far to kick off your Thursday. Look at your gas prices now. The Canadian average, $1.37. The provincial average is lower at $1.33. And in Winnipeg, the average is $1.35. Lowest price in the city, $1.19. All this info available to you at gasbuddy.com.
Price at the pump brought to you by kidneycard.ca. Get a free tow and a tax receipt for value of your car.
It's now time for Let's Celebrate. Let's see who's having a celebration today. Happy 2nd birthday to Henley, with much love from Grandma Sherry, Auntie Lala, Uncle Corey, Avery, Daphne, Sage, and Ashton. Happy 70th birthday to Donna. Family and friends send their love and wishes to you on the best day of this milestone. If someone you care about is having a birthday, anniversary, retirement, or graduation, let's celebrate. To submit your celebration, visit our website, ctvnewswinnipeg.ca. Fill out the form at least 2 days in advance. It will also enter you for our monthly contest for a chance to win a $100 gift certificate to Party Stuff.
Let's Celebrate, brought to you by Party Stuff, 3 Winnipeg locations and at partystuff.ca. Weather brought to you by Blinds Are Beautiful at 900 Lorimer Boulevard, featuring Hunter Douglas shades.
All right, it's hazy out here this morning once again. We will start to see some improvements as these winds continue in our favor out of the west or southwest throughout the day and overnight. But we've got smoke that's just kind of morphing and moving through other parts of the province. So where it's clearing out of some, it's moving into other areas, like the most northern part of the province, who is now included in that heavy smoke warning, as is much of eastern Manitoba. 12 degrees right now with 12K winds out of the west, the pressure rising and the humidity sitting at 81%. west central Manitoba, who's noticed the clearing smoke as it pushes up into the northwest. And northwestern Manitoba, it's not just the heavy smoke warning. You're now starting to see some excessive heat warnings issued with that heat that's coming in from areas to the west and will likely be moving through much of the province. We too will notice those temperatures on the rise over the next couple of days. Today is seasonal 26 degrees expected here in Winnipeg, but it will continue to warm up through the weekend, and next week we can expect above seasonal temperatures and the dry conditions to continue.
It's one of the most inspiring fundraising events of the summer, blending scenic cycling routes with a powerful mission. It's called the Cycle of Hope, and it's raising funds to help build safe, affordable homes right here in Manitoba. With us today, we have Dave Plummer, one of the event's riders and organizers, and Jamie Hall, who's the CEO of Habitat for Humanity Manitoba. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
So let's start with you, Dave.
Sure.
Tell us about this event. How does it work? Because it's quite the ride.
It is. So the event's been happening since the mid-90s, and a group of cyclists get sponsors to help raise money to build a home, and then in order to give our sponsors an incentive, we put ourselves through some pain and train for a long bicycle ride. So
how long?
Well, so this year it's 4 days riding out of Canora, and there's a couple of choices. There'll be anywhere between 300 and 400 kilometers that people will ride over those 4 days. Over the years, we've done longer trips. We've gone further afield. This year, we decided to keep it a bit closer to home and ride in the Canora area.
But beautiful, no less.
Absolutely gorgeous, and for those of us from Winnipeg, a bit challenging because of the elevation changes on the roads around Canora. So training for that from the flatlands to the prairies is a bit more complex.
Well, I believe you. I'll tell you that. When it comes to supporting Habitat, you guys, I mean, I was there a couple months ago with the biggest build in Manitoba's history, #1. How far along are you? How close are you, I should say, to its completion?
So yeah, our 900 Pandora Avenue West construction site, and it's not just a construction site anymore because we have 5 of our 5 plexes are completed now. So we have families living at Pandora Avenue while we continue to complete the final 6. So we're hoping by the end of 2026 we will have all 11 5-plexes completed. We will have 55 families, about 175 kids is what we're estimating will be living there. But already it's really exciting to see, and I was talking to a homeowner yesterday about, you know, let's get the grass in so that the kids have places to play and things like that. So it's really exciting to see it taking shape.
And what an improvement on the quality of life for these folks. How does it feel? I won't ask you to, I saw some of the stats. I won't ask you to reiterate all of them. That's too much. But what does it really do for the quality of life of a family to have the keys?
Well, and it's like it's really amazing to see the difference it makes, because our families purchase a house under our mortgage program, so they have to work hard, and they're doing what's best for their family. But when they move into their home, it changes their future, and it changes the future for the children. And so it's really wonderful to work with these hardworking families that we can create a path where it makes a difference in their lives to move from this point forward.
How does that make you feel to hear that?
That's the reason why we do it. Right? It's absolutely the reason why we do it. The Cycle of Hope over its lifetime has raised over $4 million, which has built 25 homes. So, of the projects that Jamie has been talking about, 25 of those families are people who have directly benefited from the work that from the specific fundraising that Cycle of Hope has done.
Congratulations.
That's why we do
huge.
that. Yeah.
Okay, we're out of time. I hope people support this mission, this cause. Head to a link on our website for more details.
Community Connection is brought to you by Mr. Reuter Plumbing. Born to be a hero, trained to be a plumber.
Coming up at 8:06, our Joseph Bernacki is live from the St. Andrew's Heritage Center. He's heading to the garden. Don't go anywhere.
Hello,
Nikki Reyes inside the TSN Sports Center newsroom with your must-see moment from Wednesday. For it, we go to Baltimore. Jays taking on the Orioles. Ali Sanchez sends one deep to center. Cedric Mullins chasing it down at the warning track, leaps and makes the incredible over-the-wall catch. What a grab from Mullins. That was something special. Climbs the wall and still needed the extension to bring it down. That is one of the best catches of the season and would have been the first career home run for Sanchez. That is your must-see moment from Wednesday. And tonight on TSN, Stampeders taking on the Red Blacks. Kickoff at 6:30 Central. That's all from the Sports Center newsroom. Have a great day.
TSN Must-See Moments brought to you by Super Blinds and Draperies, your Hunter Douglas shade provider for over 40 years.
Happy Thursday. Thank you for joining us today. Do you like cake and do you like flowers? Well, I have the perfect event for you. It's at a U-Pick just outside of Ely, Manitoba. They're encouraging folks to bring in cakes and they've decorated them, honestly, like art pieces. We've got that coming up later on this hour. First, here's a look at your headlines. Large response, what drew several police vehicles to a major route in Winnipeg St. John's neighborhood. Smoke from distant fires, not just an irritant, but a potential hazard, prompting youth sports organizations to adapt. And running the bases is not exactly what these creatures are known for. But for now, they're calling this ball diamond home. Very slow. Terry, once again, talking about the smoke. I've lived in multiple different provinces in this country, and I have people from other provinces writing me going, how's the smoke in Winnipeg?
And that's just it. I mean, it's bad, and we know that we usually end up with about a week of some heavy smoke over the course of the summer. That tends to happen almost every year. This year has been particularly bad, and it seems like it's just been an ongoing stretch where we find ourselves under these heavy smoke warnings, and that remains to be the case this morning. And we're waking up to 12 degrees with winds out of the west 12 kilometers per hour. The pressure is rising and the humidity sitting at 81%. But yes, that smoke, it just seems to not be letting up. And again today, here we are with most of eastern Manitoba. The northeast is not included in that. Parts of west central Manitoba were included yesterday, but have started to see some improvements with a slight shift in the winds. But where it improves in some areas, it gets worse in others. And northern Manitoba, that most northern stretch where you didn't have the warnings issued yesterday, you are now included in that as this smoke just pushed right up into your area as it clears out of the south. Now, doubling up with the warnings, you're still under the smoke warning where it's pink, but now on top of that is the excessive heat warning, and you can see in areas off to the west, all of you dealing with that heat, which is going to be making its way to our province. So many of us will notice those temperatures on the rise. The conditions behind the smoke, there's really nothing to show you here. There's very few clouds. It'll be a sunny day. I was going to say a bright and sunny day, but there's nothing bright about it because of this heavy haze, which will, like I said, perhaps begin to improve. We'll have winds out of the west and then the southwest for today. So we'll start to notice some improvements here in the south, but that only means that it starts to push into parts of northern Manitoba. Dry conditions expected for the next couple of days. Parts of northern Manitoba may see some passing precipitation today. Here in the south, it doesn't look like we're going to see a round of rain until the middle of next week. But the rainbow is looking beautiful thanks to 6-year-old Stella, and we would love to see your artwork. So draw, color, or paint and email us that picture to winnipegweather@ctv.ca.
Thank you, Terry. One person is in custody following an incident that saw a large police presence shut down parts of Mountain Avenue at Salter Street on Wednesday afternoon. The Winnipeg Police Service says officers arrived at around 2:45 p.m. for a gun-related call. North District Police were assisted by the tactical team. Police say that the case will be followed up by the gang unit. These 7 units were on the scene in response to the call, all clearing the location by around 5:30 p.m. The wildfire fight continues on several fronts in the Snow Lake area. An update on Facebook from the town at 9:30 on Wednesday night says that the fire near Lawler Road is still in an area of concern, with sustained heat and ongoing activity being monitored closely by response teams. The update also says significant progress was made on Wednesday in the 3 zone through a coordinated effort involving local crews, Manitoba Wildfire Service, aerial resources, and heavy equipment. The town of Snow Lake says that these combined operations have allowed for steady advancement of containment objectives in that area. Monitoring of the situation is taking place overnight. Smoke from distant fires is causing many youth sports organizations to cancel its practices or shift them indoors. Even with the city's big football club, the Blue Bombers canceled its outdoor practice on Tuesday. This as wildfires continue to burn in northern Manitoba, bringing smoke south.
The air quality is a massive concern, where obviously kids' health is first and foremost.
Football Manitoba says volunteers who help run their clubs are finding ways to get games in when air quality improves. Their spokesperson, Bill Johnson, says no tackle football events have been canceled so far, but the organization's provincial flag championships were scudded due to smoke. The Winnipeg Youth Soccer Association says it's lost a number of tournament games at the end of May and early June, and they're juggling some league games too. Experts say protecting children from smoke is critical, as they may be more vulnerable to adverse effects compared to adults.
With a perhaps underdeveloped immune system, they haven't seen the exposures you have as an adult and built up some of the resistance.
The sports organizations say when cancellations and postponements happen, it's done based on safety policies and expert advice, all to keep the kids safe. Leagues and teams try to move indoors when they can, but the space is at a premium. For example, the Lila Soccer Complex is being used for wildfire evacuees. It may be the height of baseball season, but one diamond is shut down in Cambridge, Ontario, for a good reason.
Given the low rate of turtles that actually reach sexual maturity, protecting these nests is really important.
Some snapping turtles have snapped up the real estate on one diamond as a nest. Because they're considered an at-risk species, the city has decided to take these steps to protect the nests. Local wildlife partners didn't have space for them this summer. It can take 20 to 30 years for snapping turtles to reproduce for the first time. So taking these relatively minor steps is definitely the right move. Here's Confusion Corner. It's 8:06 right now. Traffic volume so far so good. Joseph Bernacki joins us once again from the St. Andrews Heritage Center. Good morning.
Good morning, Ainsley, and good morning, Winnipeg. If you're just joining us, we've got some beautiful sun outside here in St. Andrews. Very pleased to be joined again by Talon Thompson. Thanks for being a great host this morning, and beautiful day to be outside, at least right now.
It's my pleasure.
Those technical difficulties, we'll try to find him soon. Health Canada has approved a new drug to treat multiple myeloma. It takes a novel approach in attacking the cancer and offers more options for patients. We get the details from CTV's Pauline Chan.
When Mary Ann Tuomi was admitted to hospital during the pandemic with severe back pain, she was quickly tested for multiple myeloma. But she says some patients can go years without a correct diagnosis, so she credits Myeloma Canada with increasing awareness.
Information for doctors that when patients present themselves with back pain, long-term back pain, that to check this for a protein in the blood that could be an indicator.
It's solely adults that are affected by myeloma, not children. And it does tend to be older adults.
Multiple myeloma is a cancer of the plasma cells. Mary Ann underwent an autologous stem cell transplant in 2021, but that doesn't get rid of 100% of the cancer.
It's like you have a big field of dandelions. And what the treatment does, it takes the field and it gives a weeding of all the dandelions. But there's still a few.
That's why new medications like Blenrep are so important.
So the drug both activates the patient's immune system against the cancer cell, also delivers the drug that helps kill this particular malignant cell. So it's a relatively novel mechanism in multiple myeloma.
Health Canada has just approved its use in combination with one of two other drugs. There are currently several thousand patients living with multiple myeloma in Canada, but with new drugs to improve survival, the hope is that number will grow. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Okay, Talon, we've got a mulligan here. You and I are golfers, so we can try to do this again. Pleased to be joined by Talon Thompson again from St. Andrews Heritage and Rectory. We got some really cool farm equipment here for harvesting potatoes. Talk to us a little bit about what's to our right.
Yeah, so to our right here is a potato planter. It's from the 1920s. It would have been pulled with an ox or a tractor, and a person would be seated on the back, and it would kind of automatically plant and cover potatoes.
Very cool. I love the piece of equipment to our left. Originally belonged to Half Moon Restaurant in Lockport. Talk to us a little bit about what we're looking at.
Yes, this is a potato peeler, and it's a little more modern. It's from the 1940s. It's electric.
Try to open the lid for our viewers this morning.
So you'd put the potatoes in the top, and the stone would rotate and peel the potatoes automatically.
Very cool. And we've got a pair of plows to our right that we passed. Talk to us a little bit about, of course, the beautiful garden here on display. I understand for years the staff here have taken good care of it.
Yeah, the staff work really hard to have our produce garden here. And this garden was actually kind of represented to be a practice farm when William Cochrane was living in this residence.
Of course, he was one of the first reverends here at the Rectory. Of course, we walked past some peppers. Oh, we've got some tomatoes, it looks like. What else are you guys growing this season?
Well, we've got some corn, we've got peas, potatoes, of course, beets, carrots, and many more.
And tell us about some of the community harvest activities and where ultimately this produce ends up going at the end of the growing season.
Yeah, so once all our produce is grown, we ask that the people contribute a donation to the Rectory, and then they can come and pick whatever produce they'd like.
You've had a chance to work here for a number of years, Talon. What do you enjoy the most about getting to work at a place that has more than 150 years of history and kind of just celebrating the St. Andrews community?
You know, I really think it's important. I grew up here in St. Andrews, and it's very important to learn a little bit about my area's history.
Right on. Well, we're going to be back at 8:38 checking out the really cool gift shop they have here that we've been teasing throughout the show. Stay tuned for more from our Thursday morning CTV Morning Live here in St. Andrews at the Heritage Centre.
All right, we're looking now through the Bath Better Live Eye Bath Fighter, your bath and shower experts for more than 40 years. Once again, the smoke, it is hanging over the city. You can see it out there. You can still smell it this morning. Some slight improvements over how bad it's been. But still, it does continue to be an issue, and we do still remain under those heavy smoke warnings. Let's first talk, though, about the temperatures, because they're on the rise already. We're now sitting at 15 degrees. That's up a few from 12 last hour. 14 degrees right now in Portage, Gimli, Morton Winkler areas, 16 in Canora. Just for a reference point, 13, that would be a seasonal low temperature. It took some time, but you're finally there in Pinawa, and still not quite yet hitting those seasonal values with the cooler temperatures over here in southwestern Manitoba. That's also where the air quality is the cleanest this morning. Moving up into northern Manitoba, you're feeling the heat already here along this western border, but the eastern border is really not a lot better. Already into the mid-teens, and it's not even 9 a.m. Slightly cooler in Thompson, 9 degrees for you. Now, along with the purple that you're seeing through most of the province, you can see that we've had some improvements here in southwestern Manitoba as that smoke plume has shifted into parts of the far north where there was not a smoke warning issued yesterday, or yesterday morning, but throughout the day as that smoke moved into there. Now, we've also got the pink. That's a doubled up warning. Both the smoke and the heat will be a factor in the northwest. Aside from that, there's really not much to show you on the map. It's going to be a clear and sunny day, especially through southern Manitoba. Low 20s by midday and moving up into those mid to high 20s as we're reaching those expected highs, with some parts of northern Manitoba possibly seeing some brief passing precipitation, a shower, maybe a thunderstorm. Here you can see those temperatures will be on the rise for us here in the south, getting to the above seasonal temperatures as we continue into weekend and well into next week.
The Winnipeg Sea Bears season continues, and we want you to be part of the action. The Sea Bears will be taking on the Brampton Honey Badgers on August 8th, so if you want to be in the stands, we've got the contest for you. CTV Morning Live is giving away a family pack of 4 tickets to give away to that game. Head over to our website, ctvnewswinnipeg.ca. Hit our contest page for all those details. Don't miss your shot. a BC lawn maintenance worker, well, they're turning heads. They're efficient, they don't complain, and they only need the occasional break to recharge. As CTV's John Alexander explains.
Yeah, no, there's no way to predict where this mower is going to go.
And wherever it's headed never makes a sound. It just sneaks about the lawn at Richmond City Hall, fulfilling its duty.
What's it doing now? Oh, it's just randomly on it, carrying out its business.
Officially a robotic lawnmower. The city has 2, though one was taking a nap when we stopped by, all in an effort to test out and stay ahead of the latest technology.
There's going to be big changes coming up in the world of grass maintenance, lawn maintenance.
Hired in 2022, so far no one has tried to take them home, although they let off nasty alarms when picked up.
We've got a wire fence that's installed into the perimeter perimeter of the lawn.
That means the robots will refuse to work beyond city property.
Much different than conventional grass cutting equipment. These don't actually cut the grass, doesn't allow the grass to cut. It comes out every day and it just grazes the surface. And so at most it's cutting off a couple of millimeters.
He argues the machines use less energy and less water is needed to keep the grass green.
So you'll notice the grass is a more natural look. There's leaves on the ground. You won't get that Wimbledon look at this. Got to watch for this thing. At the same time, you don't have to mow your lawn.
It has its own plan, and when you watch what it does, there's no way to understand what its reasoning is.
But they get the job done. Now, similar units cost between several $100s to several thousand. Officially still in the trial phase of their employment, if it likes what it sees, Richmond may let other units run amok, purposefully, on other patches of the city. St. John Alexander, CTV News, Richmond.
If you're looking for music, art, a scenic summer escape, Lac du Bonnet is the place to be this August long weekend. The Fire and Water Music Festival is back for its 18th year. It celebrates independent Canadian artists with workshops, family-friendly fun, and even now a classic car show. Joining us now is one of the festival's organizers, Anthony Cost, to tell us more about what's in store. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning, Ainsley.
So for those who haven't been yet, and it's been well over a decade now, what's the Water Music Festival all about?
Yeah, so the Fire and Water is, I'll tell you a couple of things. I feel like it's about engaging with our community and inviting others from outside of our community. And we like to, put forward an eclectic mix of music, everything from, country and some classic rock banging bands to, we've got some salsa this year. We've got some great female singer-songwriters. I can tell you more about our artists if you like, but it's such a big part of what we do here as a community and all of our volunteers just getting together to really have a great time in this beautiful setting where I'm standing later today. It's going to look a lot different than what it looks behind me here. So yeah, that's a little bit about what we do.
Well, you definitely prompted me there and sparked my curiosity. Tell us about the lineup.
Sure. So we start tomorrow at 7. We've got Isla Barker, Northern Manitoba First Nation singer-songwriter, who we love. We've got, I'd say, Winnipeg's hottest salsa band, Puru Bande, coming in, I think, with like an 11-piece band full of great rhythm and good energy. So we're going to be boogieing right out here. This is our mobile stage behind me that's going to be opened up and loaded with a PA and an awesome light rig. We've got the Barn Boys, a young up-and-coming hot band that really tore it up at Festival de Voyageur this year. And tomorrow we got a big, long cast of folks that we're looking forward to. I'll probably forget some names, but yeah, so one of the folks I'm looking forward to, his name is Alex Marr, and Alex does some really cool looping and playing acoustic instruments and singing and building a cool song right in front of us. So we're doing him in a cool kind of nighttime lounge vibe that we're building. Oh, wow. And Quentin Blair out of Brandon is going to be closing the show on Saturday with his, I'd say, a great original, like he's a Canadian Country Music Awards winner. And there's a cool thing that's happening also on Saturday with our fireworks that I can tell you a little bit about too.
Oh, sure. I heard you have workshops as well.
Yeah, the workshops, Ainsley, are one of my favorite things because what we can do is we're taking a few bands that don't know each other, and we call it a workshop. In this context, it's more like a collaborative jam concert where anything can happen as the bands kind of mix their styles and sort of go with the flow. So that's, a term we borrow from other festivals. And we also have a traditional kind of workshop taking place just up the hill over there at our beautiful community garden, where our pal Cara is going to be doing a hands-on ukulele workshop as well. So we'll have a bunch on hand, or you can bring your own, and we'll be guiding you through playing some simple tunes in a cool setting. So we've got that kind of stuff happening.
Anthony, thank you so much. The Fire and Water Music Festival happened right here in Manitoba. Really appreciate your time.
Great, thanks.
Terry, outside, hopefully by the weekend the smoke will have cleared.
I'm hoping that by later today we're starting to see some improvements. The winds will be in our favor. It's just that it's going to be kind of a slow progression to get the smoke out. And here's the real kicker. While it might improve in some areas, it only gets worse in others. So even for some places where it might seem like a win, is really not a win for all, unfortunately. 15 degrees is where we're sitting right now. So those temperatures are beginning to warm up. The winds out of the west, they're 9 kilometers per hour. The pressure rising and the humidity sitting at 72%. So as I was saying, what's a win for some isn't at all for others. For example, west central Manitoba, no warnings issued for you regarding the smoke. They were all lifted yesterday as that heavy smoke plume shifts further into the north. So parts of northern Manitoba that had not been included in that smoke warning now are. Now, along with that smoke, northwestern Manitoba, places like Flin Flon, Lynn Lake, the Pas, are now under excessive heat warnings. So you've got a double up whammy of heavy smoke and some really hot air, making for some pretty uncomfortable situations in those places. Other places, it's just going to be the smoke and seasonal temperatures. That'll be the case here for us, reaching a high of 26 degrees, which is normal for this time of year. But it will likely continue to warm up through the rest of the week. Hopefully, though, we will see some improvements with this smoke. Our beautiful shot today is from the Leo Mull Sculpture Garden here in Assiniboine Park in Winnipeg. Thanks to Debbie for this. And keep the photos coming to Winnipeg Weather at ctv.ca.
CTV Morning Live Weather brought to you by ABC Fire and Safety, your CO2 refill store.
Foot pain can limit mobility and increase the risks for falls, but there are ways to lessen that pain. Mandy Gaither reports.
You may not think much about your feet, but they're the foundation of our bodies, providing support, stability, and allowing you to move. But they also carry a lot of weight.
You know, after a long day, many people can't wait to kick off their shoes and put up their feet. But if you suffer from chronic foot pain, that might not do it.
One study found foot pain is generally more prevalent in women, with footwear often a factor. Those who have obesity and seniors are also at higher risk. There are also several other reasons for the pain, including bunions, hammer toes, sports injuries, plantar fasciitis, and arthritis. But you may find some relief by focusing on stretching your calf and hamstring muscles, says Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
When these muscles are tight, lower tendons and tissue can get inflamed. One good stretch is just flexing your foot up towards your shin. You should feel the stretch in the back of your leg.
Gupta says to also try ankle and foot circles. Start with toes at the 12 o'clock position and rotate feet at the ankles clockwise and counterclockwise. Or do windshield wiper motions with your feet. He says toe curls may also help.
Picture yourself trying to pick up something with your toes and then hold that position for 5 seconds, and then relax. Do that 10 times. Doing these sorts of exercises daily will help keep your muscles loose and may ease your foot pain.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
CTV Morning Live is brought to you by Robin's Donuts, your favorite stop.
Good morning. For over half of a century, the St. Vital Agricultural Society has celebrated its fair. Joining us now to tell us all about it and some of the history behind it as well is Annabelle Hawk and President Pamela McFarland of the St. Vital Ag Society. Good morning. Thank you guys both for being here.
Thank you. Pleased to be here.
So I think, what was it, 1909 that it all got started?
That's right.
Wow. Okay, let's back up. Let's back up and talk about the history.
The original fair happened in 1909 on Métis homeland, close to the Seine River. So the place that we now know as the Superstore on St. Anne's and Fermor was where they put up a big circus tent. We had horse displays, cattle auctions, we had sheaves of wheat, and of course home crafts that all of the ladies did. Let's go forward a little bit.
Yeah.
They decided they needed a permanent home. They built a barn. So if you've been at that corner, you've seen a great big curling rink. Well, that's our original barn, and they sold it in 1951. Then they moved up St. Anne's, and they built on land at St. Anne and Meadowood, which is now the St. Vital Minor Hockey Association. It's an arena with the Nancy Allen Skate Park in front. So today, and we continue the tradition of home crafts at our fair, and vendors who make their own products. A wonderful meal Friday night, Saturday catered by Winnipeg South Lions Club, and a whole lot of people come to our fair.
Wow. And different aspects of it as well, whether we're focusing on our Métis history, the agricultural history, or even newcomers as well. Animal, please tell us about your contribution this year.
Sure. As a newcomer, I was happy to involve within the society, contributing my time, volunteering my time, as well as you know, the cultural diversity is our theme of this year's fair. So I was requesting Pam if we could have like halal chicken menu. So this is a huge thing for me to get approval from the committee, and I'm happy to contribute in the garden as a membership chair also. I had to reach out to people if they're interested and if they have more questions for me to contribute to the garden. And especially for myself, I'm also a gardener. I have 3 little children. They run around when I go to the field and meet new people here. And I know this is the route, how a newcomer should merge into the society, learn from the elderly here. And that's how we bring up the society, cheer up the society.
And there must have been so much interest surrounding this.
Yes, so many people have food scarcity. For example, if you go buy groceries, you can buy packed food, but that's not as tasty or as nutritious value when you grow it from your garden. If you buy it from the market, it gives you some dates and labels, but from your garden, you can just freshly pick and eat them. So it gives you a different joy. Yeah.
And diverse too. Like, what can people expect when it comes to the vendors?
In our vendors, we have everything from handcrafted live oak furniture to handmade crochet toys. We actually have prairie grass-fed meats selling their prairie grass-fed meat frozen, right down to people selling handmade t-shirts, to all sorts of things. And I think that they will really enjoy seeing the fellow that does they call it wood burning, but he makes portraits on wood.
Wow.
So, and you can purchase them, so it's kind of interesting.
We're almost out of time. I don't want to cut you off. When is this happening? We got to get that out first.
We open August 8th. We open to the public at 2:30. What happens before that is judging of all of the exhibits in the competition.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I hope everyone grabbed their pen for that. We'll have a link on our website as well.
All right, 15 degrees right now with winds out of the west, 9 kilometers per hour. The pressure is rising and the humidity is sitting at 72%. I have to start out by saying I misspoke earlier on when I said that our air quality was sitting at a 2 on the scale. My mistake entirely. I actually had Thompson up on my browser and I was looking at their air quality, which was at 2 and considered low risk, versus the 7 where Winnipeg has been sitting this morning, and that is most definitely in the high risk area. So if you heard that earlier on, my apologies. I'm taking all of that back and telling you now, 7 is where we sit on that scale, and as a result, no surprise that we remain under the heavy smoke warnings. Most of the province does, in fact, including parts of northern Manitoba, where yesterday you were in the clear, but as the winds have shifted and smoke is cleared out of parts of west central Manitoba, it is just pushed further up into that northern area, and now you find yourself under that heavy plume of smoke. We've also got not just the smoke warnings, but heat warnings that are moving into parts of the northwest. Places like Flin Flon, Lynn Lake, the Pas, you're looking at temperatures soaring well above seasonal, getting close to that 30-degree range. Not much to show you here on the satellite image. There really won't be much going on today. Mainly sunny conditions behind all of that smoke. And the temperatures today, a seasonal 26 degrees expected here in Winnipeg. The winds out of the west this morning will shift out of the southwest for later on today, and then those southwest winds continuing overnight, beginning to clear out some of this smoke. Air conditions are pretty clear as well. There won't be any clouds hanging around. 12 degrees, that's just shy of the seasonal 13 for a low, and 26 degrees, a seasonal daytime high, will be surpassed tomorrow as we rise to 27. South winds at about 20 kilometers per hour, and from there the temperatures get up and stay up into the high 20s as we continue through the weekend and look well into the middle of next week.
Thank you, Terry. Crime and public safety are growing concerns for Manitobans, according to an opinion poll done for the Manitoba government. The benchmark poll by Leger suggests affordability and health care remain the most pressing concerns. Crime was the third most cited worry among 69% of respondents. That number has steadily risen in 3 consecutive Leger polls, going back to February of 2023. Half of the respondents said that the number of immigrants coming to Manitoba is too high, while 25% said that the number is just about right. The survey was commissioned by the province and obtained by the Canadian Press through a Freedom of Information Act request. 818 Manitobans responded to the survey in October. It cannot be assigned to a margin of error because online polls are not random samples of the population. The city of Canora is looking to expropriate a historic hotel. It claims it's been neglected and underutilized. The city's mayor says it's a bold move by council, one he hopes will spark revitalization for the area.
I mean, it's the most iconic piece of property in the downtown core in the city of Canora, and it has all kinds of history.
It was built in 1910 as the tourist hotel. The current owners have held it since 2005. Canora Mayor Andrew Pryor says that the city council has voted to expropriate the privately owned hotel. If successful, he says that the city would look for developers who will revitalize and restore the historic building. Homeless advocates Marlene Elder says that she isn't against the exportation, but worries it will ultimately displace the 20 or so long-term residents currently living there.
If they were looking at it and developing a supportive housing project there, I'd be totally on board. I would be absolutely on board.
Canora's Director of Economic Development and Tourism says that the city will work to support a smooth and orderly transition for current residents should the redevelopment proceed. CTV News has reached out to the owners of the hotel who declined to comment. Prime Minister Mark Carney says U.S. trade talks may go past tomorrow's deadline.
As you know, we're seeking the best deal for Canadians. We have not yet reached that deal. Negotiations will continue until we do.
The U.S. is set to hit some Canadian goods with a 35% tariff tomorrow. There has been another move that could further hurt Canadian businesses. President Trump is suspending an exemption that allows packages worth less than $800 into the U.S. tariff-free. A warning about a shortage of common painkillers impacting patients across the country. Some pharmacists are sounding the alarm, saying they're now having to limit prescriptions, meaning some people aren't getting the medication that they need. CTV's Sean Lauren reports.
So this is your medication. Do you have any questions? Ottawa pharmacist Mohammed Al-Hawane is seeing the direct impact of drug shortages in Canada.
We do have a cancer patient who depend on a monthly supply of one of their medications, the oxycodone and Tylenol. It's called Percocet, or the generic of it. Unfortunately, we had to delay the dispensing until the doctor replies and give us an alternative.
Right now, common pain medications like Tylenol 3 and Percocet and related drugs are in short supply.
These meds are designed to help with breakthrough pain. Usually they have long-acting pain medications for their chronic problems, but they take these meds for something called breakthrough pain, so it has to be there.
Health Canada says the current shortage is temporary due to manufacturing disruptions and increased demand, and is working with manufacturers, distributors, provinces, and territories to monitor the situation and explore options to increase access. The Neighbourhood Pharmacy Association of Canada says these shortages happen regularly with all kinds of medications. Finding alternatives can take time and can sometimes only be done by a doctor. They say expanded powers for pharmacists could help.
So if pharmacists had expanded scope to do more and be recognized as practitioners in the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, they could support patients more with prescribing, with dosage changes.
It's something some patients favor.
Pharmacists are totally capable of replacing, substituting medication. That's what they do.
Health Canada says the current shortage should be resolved sometime in August. Until then, patients will have to cope, hoping their medication won't be impacted by the next shortage. Sean Varden, CTV News.
Another look at traffic. This is Portage and Main to kick off your Thursday. No stalls or crashes that we're aware of. Take a look at your gas prices. The Canadian average stands at $1.37. The provincial average is lower, $1.33. And in Winnipeg, the average is $1.35. Lowest price in the city, $1.19. All this info you can find at gasbuddy.com.
Price at the Pump brought to you by kidneycard.ca. Get a free tow and a tax receipt for value of your car.
We asked you guys for a question of the day. What's your all-time favorite baked treat? And is it homemade or is it your go-to from the bakery? Ken says homemade apple pie. I have a feeling that's cameraman Kenny. Marlene says a tiramisu cake or pineapple and coconut cake. Kevin says my all-time favorite baked treat is homemade pie by my neighbor. Oh, I gotta get that person's name. Craig says that his wife Donna is an amazing baker. Everything she bakes is great, but her Nanaimo bars are a family favorite. Jennifer says flour and flour cake. Heather says cookies. Best baked treats: butterscotch, oatmeal cookies, imperial cookies, oatmeal baked cookies. Oh, guys, I'm hungry. Thanks for your responses. Joseph Bernacki joins us now from the St. Andrews Heritage Center. Good morning, Joseph. It looks like you're inside, maybe in the gift shop.
I certainly am, Ainsley. Good morning, Ainsley, of course, and good morning, Winnipeg. We've had a great morning today at the St. Andrews Heritage Center and Rectory. Very pleased to be joined again by Emily Bordelot-Lavroche. She's, of course, the Cultural Heritage Manager for the RM of St. Andrews. Thanks for being a great host this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the gift shop space. It wasn't always a gift shop, of course. What used to be in the room that we're standing in right now?
So technically nothing, but just next to us would have been the summer kitchen, back when kitchens were not part of the original building.
And these rooms, of course, were joined as we talked about the construction. There are so many cool items on display. How did all of this arrive here? I imagine you guys have had a lot of cool donations over the years.
Yeah, so most of the stuff that we have here is donated by the community, and then we sell them at a fairly low price so that it stays affordable for the community, and all of the proceeds will go back into programming, again, for the community. So we have lots of different unique antiques and vintage and collectible items, as well as local artist-made things.
And it doesn't stop right in front of this display case. Of course, as cameraman Scott showing, we've got the shelves to my left, and we've got a whole other room here. Emily, what would you say is, I'm putting you on the spot here, what's one of your favorite things to show people on display that's for sale?
I mean, we do have a fairly big collection of vintage teacups. Those are very popular. And we also have our custom brews of Black Pearl coffee. So we have 4 different brews. They were all made for the Rectory, and they're a fundraiser for us as well.
I wanted to ask you about that. That's another local Winnipeg business, right?
It sure is.
Yeah. Well, and what else have we got? We've got a different jewelry here. What else is Scott showing us for us here?
So we've got our vintage porcelain dolls. We've got handmade jewelry by a local maker. Same thing with the pottery. It's the same local maker. Local maker made the soap that you'll see down there in a minute. And we've got souvenirs of the Rectory, like the shirts that you saw me and Talon wear earlier.
Yeah, they look great. And of course, before we wrap up this segment this morning, Emily, talk to us about the hours. You guys are open all year.
Yes, we are. During the summer, we're open Tuesdays to Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and then Fridays to Sundays, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and during the winter, we are open Tuesdays to Saturdays, 10 to 5.
Wonderful. It's been a pleasure to have you on a show this morning, Emily. Don't forget about their porch performances here that they do right on the outside of the beautiful old manor here. Lots of stuff happening here in St. Andrews, and it's been a pleasure to bring that to you for your Thursday CTV Morning Live.
Thank you, Joseph. Terry, you and those flowers, eh?
Well, what else am I going to do up here, I suppose?
They look great.
Aside from enjoying the sunshine, I enjoy puttering around with the flowers. It's a really good thing to do. Honestly, being near nature, making your flowers feel good, it does a trick to your own brain too. It's good for the mental health. So I do enjoy deadheading. I find it to be a very serene activity, and knowing that my flowers love it too just makes me feel all the better. Especially knowing how much they're struggling this season. I've been talking about this smoke and how the plants just haven't been loving it. I mean, the humans haven't been loving it either, and I'm sure your animals and pets too. Once again, we are dealing with those heavy smoke warnings. The sun is up. It would be an otherwise beautiful day, but it's just got this haze instead. 15 degrees with winds out of the west, 9 kilometers per hour. The pressure is rising and the humidity sitting at 72%. And unfortunately, the smoke just kind of moves around. It never really dissipates as we wish it would. And so while it might be improving in some areas like west central Manitoba, due to a shift in the winds, is now in the clear as far as the smoke warnings go. But all of that heavy smoke has pushed up into the most northern part of the province, who haven't found themselves under those heavy smoke warnings for the past several days, but this morning you are. Now, along with the smoke, there's the heat. We're going to get back to seasonal values here in the south. It's been just shy of seasonal for the past couple of days, but 26 degrees is where we're headed here in Winnipeg and much of southern Manitoba. But surpassing those numbers and heading up into the high 20s, northwestern Manitoba. Excessive heat warnings have been issued on top of those smoke warnings, and it will continue to heat up here in Manitoba throughout the rest of this week and weekend. Taking a break right now. We'll be back with more on CTV Morning Live.
CTV Morning Live Weather brought to you by Canadian Footwear, helping you find the perfect fit.
Have a news tip? When you see news happening, let CTV News Winnipeg know. Text your tips, pictures, and videos to 10400. That's 10400. Message and data rates may apply.
Researchers are making progress treating a common knee problem that can often lead to a knee replacement. But now a new approach that might make a replacement unnecessary. CTV's Rita Ismail reports.
Knee osteoarthritis affects people around the world, bringing pain, stiffness, and eventually joint replacement surgery for many. But a new study led by researchers at Western University and the Fowler Kennedy Sport Medicine Clinic is offering hope.
The surgeons will try to intervene earlier in the disease process than later, after the patient is not improving with good non-operative care. So in the surgery, they'll take that malaligned limb, so that bowed limb, and actually straighten it to shift loads away from that most damaged compartment of the knee.
The 2-year clinical trial followed 145 patients, comparing those who had high tibial osteotomy, or HTO, along with non-surgical therapy, to those who had therapy alone. The results were clear. HTO slowed joint damage, reduced pain, and improved movement, offering the first real evidence that a treatment can actually change the course of osteoarthritis.
Surgery has a long-standing history, many decades. It actually has roots in a lot of countries in Europe, and we actually had the original procedures being done here by Dr. Peter Fowler.
While HTO is less common than joint replacement, the study's authors say it deserves renewed attention, especially for people in their 50s with specific alignment issues.
The study also has wider implications in that it shows if you improve the biomechanics acting on the joint, you can actually alter the course of osteoarthritis.
The procedure isn't for everyone, but for the right patients, it could delay or even prevent knee replacement. Rita Ismail, CTV News.
Cake, flowers, and a beautiful Manitoba summer. What more could you want, really? A brand new event is combining all three in the most delightful way. It's called Buttercream and Blossoms at the Flower Farm, and it's happening on August 10th, just outside of Winnipeg. Joining us now are Belinda Quarry, home baker and creative behind the idea, also Victoria Tubrat, co-owner of Miss Millie's Flower Farm. Welcome to you both.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Anytime I can spend the morning with flowers and a beautiful cake like this, I'm happy to do it. We'll start with you, Belinda. Let's talk about this creation.
This one here today, yeah, so today we have, it's a blackberry cake that's also coffee cake, blackberry coffee cake, and it's covered in a blackberry glaze.
And stunningly, it looks like a work of art. I'd be afraid to eat it.
It is edible, so.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and the flowers that are on it, Victoria brought from the flower farm, so those are also edible.
How did this come about, this whole idea?
So upon something I saw online, it was called Cake Picnic. It just captured my heart. Basically, it was a cake gathering of sorts, and people came, and it was almost like a potluck. People brought cakes, and they shared cakes, cut cakes, and had it sometimes indoors, sometimes outdoors. So when I saw that, I thought, would it be something we could do in our city? So I kind of was thinking about it, and then I reached out to Miss Millie's, and they were all on board, and from there, things took off, and here we are. So, yeah.
I think I saw that online too.
Yeah.
And what drew you to the idea as well?
Well, we're always looking for fun, unique things to do on the flower farm, and we all love desserts. And Jody, she she makes cakes all the time for us for coffee time, and she loves making desserts. So yeah, it's just something really fun that we thought we could do at the farm, and so we are all for it.
I hope people come and bring a variety of cakes too, so because you can almost sample, taste, and try.
Exactly, that's exactly what it's all about. You'll be given a pizza box, because it's a good sized, sturdy box, and then people will have the opportunity to cut it and try the cakes that they want to try.
I don't think they should have lunch that day.
I know.
They should just have cake. That sounds like a lot.
Cake lunch.
When it comes to the whole creation of it all, like, this is stunning. This arrangement here is stunning too. Tell us about how you put this one together.
So we kind of put this together last night just to give a fun example of what it's like when you come to the flower farm to do. This is our large U-pick container. So this is just different things that are in the garden that you can pick yourself. And for the cake picnic, we're also opening up so that people can pick flowers during the cake picnic time.
Oh, wow.
And then we're also allowing people to bring up to 4 people so that they can share their cakes with them. So
who is this for? Girlfriends? Anyone, really?
Anybody. Yeah, anybody. Yeah, we've heard of a mother-daughter or friends wanting to come. So yeah, it's really for anybody. Preferably probably 15 and up. That way maybe, you know, it's a little different when what they're baking or what they're doing and that kind of thing. But yeah. Pretty much for anybody.
The U-pick as well, it must be a shorter window given our Manitoba summers.
Yes.
How long do they have to take advantage of this?
So we kind of run mid-July till end of September, depending on if we get an early frost, then we have to end earlier. But the last couple of years, we've been able to go till like end of September.
Awesome.
So that's been really nice. So people still have a chance to come out if they want to.
I really hope they do for this event too. I have a terrible joke. This is an early frost. There's no frost on that. It's a glaze. A frost glaze cake. What day is it again? August 10th.
Yeah,
yes, it is. August 10th.
Okay,
coming up.
Thank you both. We'll have a link on our website as well.
All right, those flowers are looking far better off than my flowers up on the rooftop. Out in the smoke, it hasn't been a great summer for them, certainly. Hasn't been a great summer for all of us when it comes to the smoke, which is still hanging around. It's 15 degrees with winds out of the west 9 clicks. The pressure rising, the humidity sitting at 72%. Now we may begin to notice some improvements over the next day or so with the winds that are starting to shift. West central Manitoba has now had those warnings lifted, but it has only pushed that smoke up into parts of northern Manitoba who are now under that heavy smoke warning, and you weren't earlier in the week. And now on top of the heavy smoke comes the heat for parts of the northwest. You can see in areas off to the west the excessive heat warning. For us, it's just the smoke, but we too will notice things heating up throughout the course of this week. Plenty of sunshine, dry conditions are expected, so sunny and smoky, yes. As I mentioned, that smoke might improve somewhat with winds starting to shift out of the south. Now, the temperatures will continue to rise. Where we're headed today is a seasonal 26. We've actually been slightly below seasonal for most of this week, but now we're on the rise, and it's going to be warm for the weekend, and it's going to stay warm as we look to the middle of next week with maybe some precipitation to come by Wednesday. We're taking a break right now, but we'll be back with more CTV Morning Live.
Rooftop arrangements provided by Lacoste Garden Center.
Salon services provided by Essentique Spa Salon.
All right, we're taking you into your Thursday. Here's something trickier than replying to all of your emails, balancing things on your head. Check it out. And this puppy makes it look so easy. Am I a monster for thinking of like a karate kick?
See,
to the stuff on top?
I actually think that this is going to be easier than than replying to all my emails. I would rather balance things on my head.
You look like a pineapple.
No, I don't.
Okay, fair enough. Our next video, let's see it. Oh, it's triplets, I think.
What are we looking at here?
It's a panda, and he's totally showing off.
Is that a birthday cake? Yes, there's probably a birthday cake, right?
Yeah.
Happy birthday. Turned 11 years old, aw. And he gets fruit cakes, fresh bamboo, all of their favorite things.
Looks like an edible arrangement.
Cute.
Okay, we'll see you tomorrow.